Canning in the commentary box for that.
Well, we've just seen the McHughs, Martin and James McHugh introduced from Donegal's great All-Ireland winning team back in 1992. This is from the Derry team that beat Cork in 1993. Henry Downey, the captain, his brother Seamus, of course, there on the right, who was full forward that day.
Damien at goal and Fergal at left corner back. Shochway, Damien agus Fergal McCusker
and the McCuskers, of course, Damien the goalkeeper, Fergal there on the right, who was corner back. Damien beaten twice in that final, still won. He had the last laugh.
Brothers were next to get the All-Ireland medals without counting. And we begin with Gary Fahy, who was on the winning sides of 1998 and 2001, when he was captain also and joined by his brother Richie. Nadraharaka, Gary agus Richie O'Fahy O'Nalib.
Well, we've got shots there of the Mehans. Here we are now. The Fahys, Gary and Richie.
The Joyce were very prominent in those years as well. Corey Joyce was on the winning team of 98 and 2001, and his brother Tommy was there in 2001. The Drahara Ella O'Madam, Corey agus Tommy Shoiga.
Well, Porrick and Tommy Joyce also being honoured here today. We might have caught a shot there of Thomas and Declan Meehan. They're here as well.
Another set of brothers from Galway, the Meehan family. They were represented on both All-Ireland teams. Thomas in 1998 and Declan in 2001.
From Kerry, Linda, would you agree with what Gary has just said?
Absolutely not. It's Kerry all the way. Number 34. Kieran Donaghy. 2 goals.
Well, Evan, I'm not sure if the Mayo supporters are hoping for a great game of football. They're hoping to be bringing the Sam Maguire, obviously, across to Shannon. Well, they have it in the bag, they say, so they're happy and confident anyway.
Well, one of the great things about today is the football conditions are about perfect. You know, the grass was very wet early, there was a lot of rain last night, but the advantage of that is now that it's left the pitch that a cog can go in. You know, there's no dispute now about what boots to wear. They wear 6-stud boots. Yeah. They'll get a grip. We saw in the minor game there wasn't much slipping, so it's going to be a good open game of football. Both of them very positive about the way they play. So you know, there'll be no ifs, ands and buts with a wet, windy day. No. You know, they're going to be able to kick the ball in high into the likes of Donaghy as well. He wouldn't be suited by a slippy surface. You know, he'd be a bit like a giraffe if he was out there and the pitch was slippery.
Sure.
So today is the perfect day for football. There'll be no excuses.
Perfect day for horse racing down the Cur as well. You have an interest in the 310?
Yeah, I'd like to see Teofilo come up this straight.
You shouldn't be telling him any private information.
If he wins that, I won't worry too much about who wins the match.
It'll put you in a good humour for the game anyway.
Well, I'm always in good humour.
Sure, we know that indeed. Joe, as Colin was saying there, it's a lovely day for football. The poor old Ryder Cup might suffer next week because we've had 4 lovely days here in Dublin over the last 4 days.
Yeah, but the pitch is wet, and the pitch definitely isn't right regardless. I mean, I sort of swept my hands across it this morning and tried to get a foothold in the pitch, and you'll see it looks pristine like a pool table, and that's not what a Gaelic football or hurling pitch should look like. And the pitch isn't right. You could even see in the minor match, boys are very careful when they're turning. They've obviously been told to watch when they're turning.
Having said that, I was talking to some of the Camogie players after the final here last Sunday. They thought the pitch was grand. They thought it had settled down lovely.
Well, there you go then.
Well, there's a little bit of give in it now, which is a good
This time of the year you will get that.
And you could see too, the ball wasn't hopping as high there in the minor match. You know, in the last couple of months the ball was hopping across fellas' heads. Now they can attack the ball knowing, you know, you're going to have a true bounce, a similar bounce to in any other pitch. One of the problems is the pitch here in Croke Park was totally unlike any other pitch that players would play in. But today, you know, the pitch won't be an excuse.
No, it's not. It's the same pitch that both of them are going to run around on. Joe, it's a day for big players, for the stars of the teams to step forward and do their stuff, for the Gooches and the McDonalds and fellas like that.
Well, you see, I was thinking about this earlier, and you know, Kerry just wouldn't have any comprehension of the despair and desire that there is in a county like Mayo and in the footballers of Mayo. You know, like Tyrone came up in 2003, and they would have gone through a brick wall to win the All-Ireland, and you saw them again last year. Now, last year it was more skill and more system, but in 2003...
It's fair for Kerry has not won the All-Ireland in 3 years.
No, I appreciate that, but one thing that Mayo have going for them, an advantage that they have over Kerry, is that Kerry couldn't possibly have that desire that the Mayo boys have, you know, and that life or death feel about it.
But you could have said that in 2004, look what happened to Mayo.
No, I appreciate that, but the difficulty that day was that, you know, Mayo just weren't anywhere near the level that Kerry were at, and Kerry were able to, I mean, by half-time the score was a goal and 12 to a goal and 4, and the game was already over. Now, the important thing for Mayo today is to try and limit the aerial bombardment, limit the damage that'll be done by Donaghy, and when you think back to 2004 and you saw what happened then, but also, extremely importantly, they must nail their scores. And the difficulty is, even though their team play is very good and they support each other very well and all that, it's down to the individual to get the scores.
Yeah.
You know, so individuals have to be very strong-willed today and continue where they left off against the Dubs.
It almost seems like too obvious, this ball into Kieran Donaghy, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I saw where Jack O'Connor was quoted during the week at saying that they became a bit too predictable in some of the last couple of matches, and that he would hope that they would vary the play. Like, you know, they kicked the ball in high to Gooch 2 years ago and he outfielded his man. If they put Garrity on Gooch again, you know, he'll do the same thing. You know, he's very good in the air, and the reports are that he's right back to form. Mike Frank Russell, you know, is mooching around. He's always good for 2 or 3 or 4 points from play. So I would be surprised if Kerry just hoof everything in. There are too many good players around the place to just go route one all the time.
And another thing that has to be said about Kerry, Joe, is we had Darragh Canada on a little bit earlier on, for those who didn't join us at the earliest part of the programme, and you were also talking to him sort of off camera here about all this kind of stuff about, you know, there been a bit of disharmony in the camp, and he was saying that's rubbish. This is just talk, that's not the case at all. They're very focused on this down at Kerry. No issues about the captaincy or who's picked or who's left off.
Yeah, well, I mean, what happens on the training ground ought to stay on the training ground, and that's the way it's been with Kerry, and you won't get anyone talking out of school, and you know, and what happened to them in the Munster final is very good for team loyalty, and it's been very, very good for morale. But I mean, you're talking about the tactic being predictable, but I was talking to Danny Milligan, you know, Charlie's son, and he said that Kerry now have 2 plans. Plan A is to kick it in high to Kieran Donaghy, and plan B is to kick it in even higher. And that has worked extremely well. Yeah. Against Armagh, he scored a goal and he set up 7 points. Against Cork, he set up 8 points. Against Longford, he set up 3 goals. It works extremely well. Yeah. It brings your scoring zone right into the square where you want it to be. And also, there are all the crumbs fallen from the rich man's table for Cooper and Russell. I think it's an excellent tactic, and Mayo showed in 2004 that they can't resist aerial bombardments.
No, well, let's go down to the pitch now, because Mayo are about to come out onto the field, and let's just hear the welcome for them. You're enjoying our coverage here on RTE television of the All-Ireland football final, but I have to say, if you're watching it on television around the world, it's a great, great occasion here. Mickey Moore, and I'm sure looking forward to it as well, and a fantastic scene of colour. It always is, of course, on All-Ireland final day, but everything is perfect so far for this game of football here today. Isn't that a great scene? Mayo, as you can see, Colin O'Rourke, got onto the hill again.
Yes.
The Dubs aren't here to be concerned about it today, but nonetheless.
Yeah, and there's no glue on the hill this time to give them abuse. And, you know, they look very relaxed.
Very relaxed. Very relaxed.
Yeah, the only thing about, you know, players before an All-Ireland final, you know, I always worry if everybody's saying you're too relaxed, because there should be a fire going on inside you and you'll be ready to go. Because, you know, when all is said and done, you talk about hunger, and Kerry will come out with just as much hunger, and eventually, you know, you have 2 sides battling at their hardest, and class will win out, and that's where, you know, the Gooch and Donaghy and Darragh O'Shea and Alan Dillon and Conor Mortimer and you know, Ronan McGarrity and Kieran MacDonald, they're the players that you still expect. The cream will always come to the top.
Sure, yeah. The Mortimer is there, Shrewl.
Nearly always Cullen.
Close to Galway, the Galway border. By the way, do you recognise the guard there? Well, you can't quite see him just at the moment. That's Paul Caffrey.
Oh my God, signing
Supposed to be here as the Dublin manager today. Here was a guard signing autographs. You don't often see a guard doing that.
And I'm sure he has very, very mixed feelings about it today,
no
because he invested so much in the year and they were so hopeful. But
here comes the team he was hoping he'd be playing.
And the team that they were hoping they'd be playing.
It's noticeable to see players coming out there with, you know, 2 pairs of boots, you know, and in the minor match we could see it along the line. There's about 20 pairs of boots lined up, just in case players do get it wrong.
Sure.
There's a substitute pair close by.
It's not like you're there with the old Blackthorn boots about 10 years old and rubbing the dubbing into them. Big long steel.
I hope that the toe didn't come off during the course of the match.
Big long steel studs in them right down your opponent's shins.
We used to nail them up, the studs into the boots at that stage.
That's right. That's right.
A great vision here at Croke Park, and a great razzmatazz of sound as well on this All-Ireland final day. Colin O'Rourke, you've been taking a look at the Mayo team and just the various aspects of them. The influence of Mortimer and Dillon is one thing you want to look at here.
Yeah, well, for me, Dillon and Mortimer have been the 2 best Mayo players. You know, people talk a lot about MacDonald, but, you know, since the very beginning of the championship, these 2 have really stood out for me in their scoring exploits. And they have had the courage to, that when they were needed, they've always come up trumps. Against Galway, against Laois, Mortimer really got the points. And in the last game too, you know, when the fat was in the fire, Mortimer scored brilliant points, and Dillon got a lot of ball out around the middle of the field and carried. And here we have first of all, we see Mortimer in action. And, you know, he's supreme confidence in his own ability. And he's improved a lot as a player. You know, he's not the Flash Harry that we used to talk about a couple of years ago. A really, really outstanding forward. And Dillon has followed suit as well. I think he did more than anybody else to get them back into the game. But the other side of the coin is they've a very porous defence. And against Dublin, you know, they gave away 1 goal. Or 2 goals, they could have given away, I think, 5 or 6.
Sure.
And if Kerry get those sort of chances, you know, here we have Mayo coming in here, belts it against the bar, and they get 1 goal here, great hands. But again, a lot of Mayo players caught out of position, and Higgins in particular the last day, I thought, got an awful roasting from Brogan, and he's not coming up against an easier opponent today in Cooper. Another big feature of the player has been McGarrity. He was outstanding, broke down a lot of ball against Dublin, and their half-forward line, Dillon in particular, came in and fed off them. So to me, those 3 are the 3 most important players to Mayo today.
Yeah. Joe, from your point of view, Kerry, I suppose it's hard to look at Kerry without talking about Kieran Donaghy, but there's other aspects to it as well.
Well, I mean, I was talking to Dara O'Conneja this morning, and he was making the point that they deliberately set out in 2004 to bombard the Mayo full back line, even though they only had 3 forwards who were about 5'10", 5'11". And, I mean, the game turned into a massacre. You know, Crowley and Gooch and O'Conneja, by half-time the game was over. It was 1-12 to 1-4. And, you know, nothing that you've seen from the Mayo full back line inspires you with confidence when high balls are being kicked in. Now, today Kerry are coming to the party with a genuine sort of 6'5" high catching machine. And you saw Donaghy against Cork, against one of the best full backs in the business. Against Longford he set up 3 goals. I mean, against Cork I think it was 8 points, against Armagh 1-7. And he can catch high balls wherever they're coming from. David Heaney's a very good footballer, don't get me wrong, but he's not a natural full back. And, you know, whenever you think that Kieran stood up to the sort of the man who more than anything else embodies the spirit of the great fullback, you know, Francie Bellew, and he really crushed Francie at the end of the day. It's very difficult to see how, unless he goes over on an ankle or just has a stinker, that he's not going to have a big influence in the game today. And Mayo are going to have to work frantically to try and limit the damage there.
Yeah, David Heaney's an interesting footballer. He is a good footballer. Has up days and down days. He's a leader, though.
He is, and he's a tough, hardy fella who won't lie down. Even here against Dublin, you know, he was injured for the last 10 or 15 minutes, but he still threw his body in. And he is a leader, and he won't give up. But as Joe says, it's very hard to not see Donaghy getting a few in there. The other side of it is, what Mayo have to do is try to curb Kerry around the middle of the field. They have to win breaks, they have to stop Darragh O'Shea dominating as he has in the last game. Yeah, they are good at that, and they're a hungrier outfit than they were 2 years ago.
OK, now let's join Gerard Canning in the commentary box.
Thank you very much indeed, Michael. Well, today it's the 20th championship meeting of Kerry and Mayo in the championship. The most recent, of course, last year in the quarter-final. Well, the team news, the big news from the southwest this week was the omission of Kerry's leading goal scorer, Owen Brosnan. The Dr. Croke's player with 12 goals to his credit in championship action is replaced by team captain Declan O'Sullivan of Drummond Pearses. It means that 11 of the team that started last year's final against Tyrone will be in from the outset, plus Mike Frank Russell, who came on as a sub 12 months ago. And the others to make the big step up today, Tommy Griffin in midfield, and forwards Sean O'Sullivan and Kieran Donaghy. The Willie Won't-He saga with Kieran MacDonald has captivated Mayo followers ahead of this final, and the news is that he starts as everyone hoped he would. So the balance today is that half of this team did not share the ignominy of losing the 2004 final to Kerry. David Clarke is now in goal. The Higgins clan is represented by Keith and Aidan at the back. Pat Hart is established in midfield, while Ger Brady and Kevin O'Neill have been welcomed back into the fold to add their considerable strength to the forward line. Kerry have won the toss. They'll play from left to right. Michael.
Sure, Kenny, thank you very much indeed. The All-Ireland Senior Football Final of 2006 coming up very shortly.
Philosophy on the game coming from John Morrison, who says, well, look, the opponents will score plenty, but we'll score more. And that's a risky philosophy, especially against a team like Kerry. You saw against the Dubs, there were 3 clear goal chances for them, but they must go for it today.
Yeah.
And the important things to remember are that Kerry have wilted in tight games. 3 big championship games here in the last 4 years. The only difference is that they've wilted against teams with very strong defensive systems, Tyrone and Armagh. It'll be interesting to see if this develops into a shootout, whether Mayo are able to get the scores, because the first match where Mayo got into a scoring vein all year was against the Dubs. And that's the big thing, you know, can they get into a scoring vein, can they nail their scores, or will they revert to type? And if they can stay in contact with Kerry with 10 minutes to go, then anything's possible for them. But if not, you know, I mean, Kerry could rock it away from them.
Round the middle of the field column is going to be interesting today.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't expect to be too much clean catching, because I expect that both teams on the opposition kick-out will just go for breaking the ball down and hope that they win it on the ground. And Galvin has been good at that, Dillon has been good at that, Ger Brady has been good at that. He's a very strong player, and he'll get it, and he'll make direct runs straight through the defence. And, you know, he could cause problems to Moynihan if Moynihan picks him up. Now, it'll be interesting to see who marks who, because if MacDonald comes out the field, I'm sure that Mark O'Shea will follow him. So, you know, that breaking ball and who gets it out of there quickest is going to be vital.
Well, as you saw on the shot there just a moment ago, the 2 teams are lined up on the red carpet, or beside the red carpet. The President of Ireland, Mary McAleese, comes out to the crowd.
Honours, hoping that this will be their big day. David Heaney introducing all the different members of the squad. Down along the line, Aidan Higgins. James Nallen has been here before many times, of course. Ronan McGarrity will have a key role to play in the middle of the park alongside Pat Hart. Billy Joe Padden. Ger Brady there, centre half forward. Kevin O'Neill, who has been in from the start, or will be in from the start. And Kieran MacDonald, about whom there was so much speculation regarding his fitness. And then the team officials, it's Brian Crowe from Cavan who's in charge today, and the linesman Maurice Deegan from Laois, Michael Hughes from Tyrone, Seamus McCormick was the 4th official, and then the umpires John Sheridan, Jimmy Galligan, Michael Lyons and Philip Devine. Very special day for them as well. And the recalled man for Kerry, the captain today, Declan O'Sullivan from Drummond Pearses in South Kerry, replaces this man, Colm Gooch Cooper. That's as captain, of course, but Gooch has a big role to play in there in the Kerry attack this afternoon. So down along the line to Tom O'Sullivan, Seamus Moynihan, 32 years of age now, Aidan O'Mahony, the left top. The matchups in this game will be so interesting once the match gets underway. Who's going to pick up whom? Sean O'Sullivan there, Paul Galvin, Gooch we talked about, the big man, 6'5", Kieran Donaghy from Austin Stacks, and Mike Frank Russell, the 28-year-old teacher, the last man to be introduced by Declan O'Sullivan. So the scene is set on a perfect afternoon, very calm day in Dublin, great atmosphere about the place. You get the feeling it's just all genuine football supporters. They were living every moment of that marvellous minor game, drawn 15 points apiece. And now they're looking forward to the senior. Michael.
The hour in the parade coming up in just a moment here at Croke Park. We'll be staying for that, of course. Declan O'Sullivan, Colin O'Rourke plays for Kerry. He captains the side. Will he be lifting the Sam Maguire?
Yeah, I think he will. It's a lot of pressure on him coming back in to captain the team, and you know the whole sentiment of the country, and it would be really nice to see, and it's not anti-Kerry in any way, but Kerry don't buy into sentiment, and I think that in life, you know, we're sure there's two things, debt and taxes. I think you could add in Kerry winning All Irelands, and I think that the same thing is going to happen again today.
That's the feeling of a lot of people, Joe, that love Mayo to win. They think Kerry are going to win. Is that your view?
Funnily enough, in Ulster, there's a big groundswell that thinks Mayo will win it. I mean, Owen Mulligan was being interviewed during the week, and he unhesitatingly said Mayo have built up a lot of momentum. You know, they have a lot of good players, and if they give everything for 70 minutes, limit Kieran Donaghy and take their scores, if they're still in this game with 10 minutes to go, they can win it because they've got that whole sort of momentum, that sense of mission. But I mean, the heart says Mayo, the head says Kerry.
Well, that's up and away here on big match day at Croke. Let's see what the players down the field have to say about it all. Commentary on this year's All-Ireland Senior Football Final is from Martin Carney, and first, Ger Canning.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, a splendid setting as always. Kerry, the favourites, as you heard from the panel members talking with Michael. But Mayo, well, Mayo last won the Sam Maguire, of course, a long time ago, 55 years ago. There was a lovely little documentary on TV last night, Colin O'Callaghan's documentary with Rachel English, talking about the survivors of that era. It's a long time ago. Since they won that last, you know, we've had 6 popes, 10 Taoiseach, 11 US presidents. Nelson Mandela, well, he's got into it, came out of Robben Island, and the Berlin Wall's gone up and been ripped down again. And Martin Carney, you know, is this the day when it's all going to turn around for Mayo? So many people are willing them on to victory.
And you forgot to mention, Jerry, we've been born since then also. But I'll tell you, everybody's willing them on to victory. I mean, it's a wonderful occasion here today. I must say, you know, it's a great cauldron of noise and excitement. As good a theatre for sport as you could wish to be in. And, you know, both teams, it must be said, Jerry, hiccuped their way through the early rounds of the championship. But recently they have been in full flow. And expect today 2 purist teams, 2 teams capable of playing the best of football. I expect them to kind of give an exhibition of stuff. And hopefully, you know, the better team will come out. But certainly, my bias is kind of echoing now when I say that I hope that Mayo win it. They look very calm, controlled, and concentrated there early on. They are the people's choice, and I'm just hoping that they give the display that the county demands from them. Also, there's one other point about the Kerry thing. They've talked a lot about the attack so far, but it's defensively, I think they need to be very sound today. They coughed up a number of chances against Dublin in the last game. They need to be a little bit more solid in the back today.
Don't forget that Kerry are going today for a league and championship double. Kilkenny did it earlier. We saw them win the league back in April, and of course they won the All-Ireland 2 weeks ago. And that is a feat which has not been done in the same calendar year. That's the 2 league champions winning the championship in the same calendar year. It's only been done 3 times before. One of them was in 1936. Limerick and Mayo did the double that time, winning league and championship. It was done in 1965. Tip and Galway in football, and then it was done recently, 2003, Kilkenny hurling, Tyrone in football, and that's what Kerry are attempting to do this afternoon to match what Kilkenny have already managed. So now it's time for the national anthem. It's going to be sung by 27-year-old Paul Byron, and Paul Byron comes here to join the Artane band around the globe. After all the yards of column inches and all the talk on radio and on TV up and down the country, it's time for the action. And it is Kerry who are, after winning the toss, they will play from left to right in the first half. Great atmosphere. Brian Crowe in charge this afternoon. He is a company quartermaster sergeant in Cavan, or a CQMS. Little or no breeze around. It's Kerry with 33 titles, Mayo with 3. We're looking for any switches or changes. And I'm looking for Kieran Donaghy. He has got into full forward, been marked there by David Heaney, as anticipated. Brian Crowe was in charge of the quarter-final last year. He's in charge now of the All-Ireland final itself. And straight away it is Tommy Griffin laying it off to Mark O'Shea, picking out Paul Galvin here now. Thomas O'Shea letting it rip. First early ball in there, David Heaney guarding it well. Played out here as far as Keith Higgins had a very tough semi-final. This is out as far as Aidan Higgins. Measured build-up as per usual by Mayo. Once again David Heaney, the captain, hoping to bring Sam back over the Shannon. Aidan Higgins. Here's Ronan McGarity. All Mayo, all their passes, and it breaks down there with one little slack pass. Galvin intercepting. Mike Frank Russell letting fly, and Mike Frank Russell putting it over the bar. First attack by Kerry after all the huffing and the puffing to get it out of defence by Mayo, and Kerry show just how lethal they can be. And Mike Frank Russell with 13 points now for the championship campaign so far this year.
Yeah, that's a real gift, I must say, to Kerry. A very, very bad bit of over-elaboration by the Mayo defence that time. Should have cleared the lines, got caught up in a congested area, and again Michael Frank Russell punished it admirably.
Kieran MacDonald, I've noticed, has been marked by Aidan O'Mahony. It means that Mark O'Shea is perhaps going to be given a freer role. Seamus Moynihan up along towards Declan O'Sullivan, laid off again here to Galvin, beating the attempted block, letting it in high, fisted around there. Donaghy is going to be a big threat in there, and it's something that Mayo are going to have to cope with. They've had 3 weeks to prepare for that particular task, a mighty one at that. Nallen out as far as Ger Brady, who got 4 points when these teams met in the league. It was the opening match of the season, really, played on a Saturday night back at the very beginning of February. Here we are, mid-September, the last scheduled game of the football season. Kevin O'Neill dropping it in, but dropping it into the goalkeeper's hands. Diarmuid Murphy. Well, it's the one thing that Mickey Moran will not have wanted, to give that slack ball in there to Murphy, because it allows Kerry to start vigorously out of midfield. Tommy Griffin letting it rip once again in there. Gooch peeling away from his marker, getting out ahead of Dermot Geraghty. Keith Higgins now tries to come in to close him. Paul Galvin. Nice controlled play, but not a good finish by Galvin. Good approach play. Not the best of finishes, however.
Yeah, a lot of gaps there appearing in the Mayo defence already. Paul Galvin very, very prominent. Aidan Higgins needs to get tighter to him. And again, a lot of indecision with that last high ball that came in between Dermot Geraghty and the fullback David Heaney.
Pat Hart waiting for the kick-out, because these kick-outs have been practiced time and again, and Hart did get to the break of that one. Touches it down here to Patter Gardner, sweeping onto it quickly. Hart back to receive the return pass. 45 metres out from the Kerry goal. MacDonald can be such an influence. As usual, giving a very liberal role in the side. In for Conor Mortimer. Try to hold off the challenge. It's an unfair challenge, a jersey pull. And that's going to be a free in, and the man who's indicted is Tom O'Sullivan. It's taken very quickly. Saved by the goalkeeper, Diarmuid Murphy. Well, shades there of the kind of start that Mayo made 2 years ago in the final. Alan Dillon on that occasion was the one who was in. Kevin O'Neill was trying to latch onto that last one. Mark O'Shea. Here's Dara O'Shea. Galvin just holding it up, waiting for players to move into position. Sean O'Sullivan. He's added very significantly to the half-forward line of Kerry this year. Almost an old-fashioned style of play. Into Donaghy. Having difficulty with him immediately. A little block on it that time from Declan O'Sullivan. Breaks out as far as Geraghty. And Dermot Geraghty seeks out and finds Ronan McGarity. Here's James Nallen, but the ball is a slack one, and Tommy Griffin onto it straight away. Any kind of slack pass, loose pass whatsoever coming out of defence. And Kerry are very, very sharp this afternoon. O'Mahony into Declan O'Sullivan, held up there by Pat Hart. Low inside this time little bit of variety. The gooch, the layoff there as far as Donaghy, the drag down, free in, foul committed by Ger Brady.
Yeah, they're blitzing Mayo at the moment. Their movement is fantastic. Again, the half-forward line is getting on the ball a lot. And again, Mayo should have been probably a little bit more composed at the far side of the ground. Just watch the free here being conceded by David Heaney and by Ger Brady. But at the far side, Conor Mortimer should have put the ball over the bar rather than trying a quick one.
Well, it's almost as if the Mayo backs haven't anticipated this kind of whirlwind start that you would normally expect from Kerry.
Yeah, but I think, in fairness, a lot more pressure should be coming on outside the field. Again, very clever play, must be said, by Mortimer. The ball just a little bit overcooked. O'Neill most unlucky, but a great save by Derek Murphy.
This is it again here. Kevin O'Neill from the Nafiana club. Good save by Dermot Murphy. Just stuck out the leg, did well. Donaghy's okay. Big man who plays for the Tralee Tigers, and Mike Frank Russell looking for his second point of the match. This from some 25-26 metres out. On a still day, he's hit it inside the post and he's put it over the bar. So Kerry have made the perfect start. They've got the only 2 points so far, and their goalkeeper has saved a near certain goal at the other end. David Clark, 23-year-old goalkeeper, getting good length into it. Hart jumping, and that's once again taken brilliantly, but it's not by Darragh O'Shea this time, but by his partner, Tommy Griffin. Sean O'Sullivan, Moynihan, the angled ball across. They do that time and again. Cooper, the layoff here for Declan O'Sullivan, dished off inside to Donaghy, back, goal! Mayo ripped apart. Declan O'Sullivan, the team captain, justifying his recall to the side. A goal in the 7th minute. And Declan O'Sullivan combining with Donaghy. But watch Donaghy's role in this. It was central. It was all set up initially after the movement by Seamus Moynihan. Donaghy, a little feedback there to the man coming through from the centre, and that's a 4th championship goal for the man from Drummond Pierces. A little 1-2 and a real killer blow from Mayo. 1-2 to no score. Well, now this is really testing Mayo, because they wanted that kind of start. McDonald back battling. Higgins, Billy Joe Padden played inside to Hart. Griffin playing, dragging him, fouling him, free kick.
Yeah, the problem for Mayo is coming in their half-back line at the moment. The 3 half-backs are very, very loose. Paddy Gardner is loose, and O'Sullivan on the other wing. Aidan Higgins isn't getting close at all to Paul Galvin. And again, at centre-half also, James Nallen is struggling.
This is lobbed in here once again, taken down with difficulty by Mark O'Shea, but he did enough on it to play it to the other corner back, Tom O'Sullivan. They are so resourceful, these Kerry backs, that any one of them is quite comfortable at right half, full back, wherever you want to have to play. Darragh O'Shea kicking the free quickly. Again, it's Tommy Griffin. There were suggestions in the build-up that he might be the one to be in danger of losing his place. He started really well. Inside for Kieran Donaghy. What a beginning for him. What a shot. This could be a rout. Eight minutes are gone. And Kerry have got a second goal, and Donaghy has got a second for the campaign. Is there any way to stop him? Using his physique, using his hands so well, but showing that he's got subtlety in front of goal as well. Tigerishly taking it in, nothing Heaney can do, and a rasping shot past David Clark, who's beaten for the second time. That is an enormous body blow for Mayo, for all neutrals, but in the kingdom, well, what's Mickey Moran thinking, I wonder, at this stage?
Well, 8 minutes gone, 8 points down. Again, Mayo with it all to do, but again, they're just incapable of dealing with this high ball into the edge of the square at the moment. And again, the cornerbacks also are very loose. There's just general pandemonium in the back line.
Pandemonium indeed. Tomas O'Shea racing after him, Billy Joe Padden laying it off to Galvin. Beyond Donaghy this time, maybe it's just a decoy, because it runs kindly for Colin Cooper, having a bit of work to do. Good movement by Mike Frank Russell. His confidence will be high. Nice ball inside. Griffin coming into it. And that time the contest is fair, the referee decides. 50-50 challenge. No foul recognised there. So it's Potter Gardner. Mayo need a score, big time. Out as far as McTonnell, their spiritual leader. On it goes to Keith Higgins, who's captain the under-21s to victory already. That was back in May. Here in September, the kick is high. It's very wayward, and it's one that Higgins and the rest of Mayo really badly needed.
Very much, Jared. They needed a score there to settle him. Again, a great attack that time. Just watch again the goal coming. Again, Donaghy feels it in front of David Heaney, shakes him off, and again, fantastic finish. It's a real case of Gulliver in the land, and it really puts at the moment the way that ball is going in.
Do you think David Heaney is going to be able to stay with Kieran Donaghy?
It's going to be very, very difficult for him because the pressure isn't coming on out the field at all. They're having a free rein at delivering ball with quality into Kieran Donaghy.
Well, if that supply line continues, it's going to get worse. Tomas O'Shea breaks here nicely, picked up by Declan O'Sullivan, playing it back here to the Gooch once again. Cross here to Sean O'Sullivan. They're having a field day. It's target practice, and O'Sullivan from Croman kicks his first. Man was in Australia last year, but he's come back to make a very, very important contribution. And there's a change immediately. James Nallen, who I noticed was injured, is replaced by David Brady. Nallen appeared to be injured in the build-up to the second goal by Kieran Donaghy, and he was effectively out of the action as the build-up to that was continuing.
Very interesting, actually. David Brady's going full back on Donaghy, so there'll be a real tussle now between them. That'll become a very physical contact.
Well, they had to take drastic and immediate action, but I think Nallen has gone off for an injury. Kerry come again. Tomas O'Shea to his brother Dara. Trying to pick out the best possible pass. Dermot Geraghty holding off the challenge there of Aidan O'Mahony. MacDonald again playing very, very deep. That's a good ball. Billy Joe Padden. Mayo needing a score or two. Padden takes the extra yard out of it. Why didn't he kick it? I'm sure everybody is saying.
Yeah, and there was a great run that time from Ger Brady. If Padden had seen him, he was right up in support with a score on his mind.
Tommy Griffin riding the challenges, breaking the challenges. Nicely ahead by O'Mahony this time. Mike Frank Russell. Again, alarming gaps. Aidan O'Mahony cutting inside. Another one. This could be even worse than 2004 unless Mayo can do something very, very quickly.
Yeah, this is becoming an embarrassment, actually. That time again, just watch it again. The space that he has this time, Aidan O'Mahony to put it over the bar. Again, this is alarming from a Mayo point of view. And I notice now Dermot Geraghty's gone down injured. He's been struggling since the beginning of the game. It'll be no surprise if he's replaced.
Well, Kerry so far have had 7 attacks and they've scored from 6 of those. Mayo have already replaced James Nallen. We're only in the 13th minute. As Martin says, Dermot Geraghty might well have to be replaced. Physio's out and the team doctor Fergal Rowan, Lara Coyne is the physio. Well, that's the first of the substitutions. And as you heard, David Brady has gone into full back. Well, Geraghty wants to continue.
Yeah, I think the overwhelming pace of the Kerry attack is destroying Mayo at the moment. But again, Mayo are helping their own causes because there's a complete absence of pressure around the middle of the field. And their backs are just incapable of matching the runs that the Kerry attack are making.
Well, the face of John Maughan there tells the story, I think. And I was in charge when they were in the last All-Ireland final 2 years ago. Kerry came here meaning business, wanting to justify their favouritism, which is so hard to do, as we all know, in all different sports.
Yeah, but just again, look at the space, at that side of the field for ball being delivered in there.
But they've played the game so well, Kerry. They have recognised that there are weaknesses in the Mayo defence, and they are trying to expose it hugely. Little argument as to whose ball it's going to be. Moldestygan on the far side from Laois, the linesman, signalling that it's going to be a line ball for Mayo. And the referee is bringing the ball forward, and I think he's ending up giving a free kick. Aidan Higgins from Charlestown, ready to take. Ger Brady. Well, can the Bradys make the contribution that is required now, having given Kerry an absolute monstrous head start of 10 points? Aidan Higgins finding Kevin O'Neill. Not a bad ball. This is Alan Dillon right on the end line, cutting it back, but nobody there for it except Tom O'Sullivan. Little unlucky that time. Galvin once again. Beautiful ball ahead to Sean O'Sullivan. Nobody's marking him. Ridiculous amounts of space are being given to the Kerry players. Playing it in towards Donaghy. There's what looked like a push on the part of David Brady, but the referee, maybe he sees the scoreline and he says, come on, play on. Billy Joe Padden. Ball coming back to Kieran MacDonald. The absence of a free kick just moments ago there for that tussle between Donaghy and Brady still has the crowd buzzing. Alan Dillon here. Hand passed inside to Mortimer. Mayo really need his predatory skills. Unable to cut inside. Kerry hounding him, forcing him back. Billy Joe Padden. Little chip ahead to MacDonald, breaking it this time. In comes Aidan Higgins, dishing it off here to O'Neill. Goal! Kevin O'Neill! 16 minutes are gone. Hold the obituary, it's not over yet. Kevin O'Neill with a very timely intervention here. His third goal in the championship. Aidan Higgins was magnificent in his part in all of that. It might have been a free at the other end. It's a goal from Mayo down the other, and now we might have a bit of a match. 2-4 to a goal.
Well, credit Kevin O'Neill's calmness that time. He just held it up for that split second, drew David Murphy, slotted it to the net. That's a wonderful response and badly needed by Mayo.
Well, now Kerry will try and lift the tempo of the game once again. They've been playing at a very high tempo so far. Paul Galvin, that route one ball in towards Donaghy. Again he looks at the referee. Again he protests that he was being held. I must say he might have had a better case in the last challenge.
Well, I think Brady's cuteness, in all fairness, just watch the goal again. A great penetration by Aidan Higgins. Again, just holding it up slightly long enough to Kevin O'Neill that time. Watch the assist. Good pass. Kevin O'Neill's superb goal. Well played.
It ends up being a free out for Mayo. David Clark, midway through this first half. Certainly can't say you don't get scores when Kerry and Mayo meet in championship matches. Kerry doing most of it so far. Beautifully taken down. Mark O'Shea. And as far as the roaming, Paul Galvin. Almost shows a wonderful appetite. People tend to highlight his belligerent nature, but he's a very good footballer, Galvin. So too O'Sullivan. Dropped there by Sean O'Sullivan at the worst possible moment. David Brady instead. Comes out here as far as Alan Dillon. Aidan Higgins now. That challenge there is by Donaghy. MacDonald playing very deep. I think Mayo people would prefer him to have pushed forward more in towards the half-forward line. Again, they work it back and try to create something. Peter Gardner is involved. Little fist ahead here towards Pat Hart. Kevin O'Neill, Mayo's goal scorer. Delicate little chip across here to Conor Mortimer. Kerry looking around to see where the runners were coming from. Mortimer, a little block that time. Very good block. It's by Tom O'Sullivan. Tried to wrestle his way free that time, and he wrestles his way free of the challenge.
Again, a great run that time by Paddy Gardner into the attack that Conor Mortimer didn't pick up. Again, the pass was on, the score was there. Pass wasn't given, unfortunately.
Long time to go in this game yet. Sean O'Sullivan. Kerry work it out as far as Mark O'Shea. Back from Declan O'Sullivan. Tommy Griffin making a move forward, confronted by two Mayo defenders. One of those defenders is a half forward at this stage, Billy Joe Padden. The Gooch. inside the 45-metre line. Mike Frank back once again here to Sean O'Sullivan. Having a go with the left. Not quite on target. That's just Kerry's second wide of this first half.
Yeah, again, to be fair, Mayo are imposing more pressure on the Kerry outfield players at the moment. But again, I still think that the backline is a little bit kind of loose. The two wing halves in particular, again, both Aidan Higgins and Paddock Gardner need to get tighter to both Galvin and to Sean O'Sullivan. They're particularly adept at picking out Donaghy on the edge of the square, and they've started very well.
Well, I think the Mayo fans will be hoping and praying that Kerry have had their best spell in this match in the opening 15 minutes. There's still more to come. Paul Galvin. Oh, O'Sullivan has options inside. The Gooch is waiting. So to Donaghy, back once again to Galvin under pressure, and he kicks it over the bar. They had so many options that time. Paul Galvin was involved in the build-up. Declan O'Sullivan there as well. Galvin the finisher.
But again, nobody's coming back whatsoever that time on Declan O'Sullivan or on Galvin when they were coming through. The Mayo backline is totally wide open at the moment. It's just, I'm surprised that they're not playing a sweeper in front of the full backline to try and close up the area there.
Well, this is what at times Armagh were doing.
Well, it was the blueprint created by both Armagh and Tyrone that worked against Kerry. Mayo have ignored it so far to their detriment.
Mayo have only won 2 out of 8 kickouts so far. They've won this one 3 out of 9, and Billy Joe Padden holding on to it. Back to McGarity. Not a good ball. Easily taken by Michael McCarthy. Again, it's controlled, it's measured. Never too intricate. Mixture of hand passing and foot passing. Moynihan involved, trying to keep it away from Ger Brady. Galvin again. They are lording it over Mayo. Moynihan. Brady breaking it. The scraps this time are picked up by Pat Hart. Out to Gardner. MacDonald again here, but still very deep. Hart, bit of work to do. Took his eye off it because he saw O'Mahony coming in. Now to Mos O'Shea. Again, he has so many different options when he wants to play the ball to a free player. Sign of a confident team. Well on top of their opponents. Donaghy, bad pass that time. Coming in to take it, Keith Higgins. Again, looking for options. Kerry are getting the easier passes because there's so many support players. More difficult for Keith Higgins to find a colleague down there. A real hit and hope one, and the Kerry backs just seizing on everything. So dominant, so confident. Galvin. Out to Moynihan. You wonder who's marking him. He's supposed to be doing the marking. Griffin again. It's a procession. All heading towards the canal end goal. Dished off there and held somehow by Mike Frank Russell. Declan O'Sullivan leaving it out there for Colin Cooper from the Dr. Croke's club in Killarney. Enterprisingly in. And that time David Brady does well initially. Did well to hold off Kieran Donaghy. And then the second time when Sean O'Sullivan was coming. McGarity, long ball. Again the ball is given away to a Kerry player. Ridiculous. Good measured play once more. O'Shea finding his brother, the older one, Dara. Not the best of finishes.
Well, it must be said with the Mayo play at the moment, there's so little link-up. The passing is very poor with both, in particular with the foot, and again in an awful lot of situations where they are playing the half pass, they're playing it to a static player.
Kieran Donaghy is down, requiring some attention at the moment. I'll tell you what, Mayo needs some joined-up football.
Very much so. Again, it must be said though that since David Brady has come in, he has certainly put the shackles on Donaghy. Okay, he's got away with 1 or 2 little pulls and that kind of thing, it must be said, but at least he has contested the ball with a bit of physicality that wasn't there in the first couple of minutes. But I go back again to the half-back line. The half-back line is very, very, very loose.
You wonder how long Mayo will continue without introducing another sub or two. Well, the triumvirate there of Mickey Moran, John Morrison and Kieran Gallagher just considering their options. Donaghy is okay. Aidan O'Mahony's role so far in staying with Kieran MacDonald, I think, is very central in this game because he's back. He's making life very, very difficult for the playmaker for Mayo. Clark. This time it bounces off the legs of McGarrity. Just bad luck that time, and again seized on by Kerry. Straight to Mike Frank Russell, from Tomas O'Shea. Inside towards Donaghy. This time gets the measure of Brady and a little chip, and it's over the bar. Goal and a point now for Kieran Donaghy from 2 shots at the target. What a season he's been having when you consider he was sent off in the drawn Munster final against Cork, didn't play in the replay, picked at full forward, and Kerry's season transformed after that. They lead 2-6 to a goal.
Yeah, it's far too easy altogether for Kerry at the moment, and again just the lack of sharpness, the lack of tackling in the Mayo backline is dreadful. Not getting out in front of the men, too much space being given also to the players out the field to deliver, and just trouble all round.
Hard to know if you want to bring on the forwards like Aidan Kilcoyne and Andy Moran, the obvious ones, but because it's so difficult getting the ball beyond halfway. Here's David Heaney. Happier out around centre half back. Again, the pass is a wretched one. Michael McCarthy scooping it away to Seamus Moynihan. They're absolutely having a field day. Mike Frank Russell. Now O'Mahony. Dara O'Shea. And Ellie holding it up here, Mike Frank Russell. Tommy Griffin. Big lob in, missed by everybody, not by the Gooch. Little dummy, and it's off the post. Mercifully from that point of view, from a Mayo point of view, the first time, but the second time, he is absolutely lethal. Ruthless finishing by Colm Cooper. The Gooch gets his first score. It's 3-6 to a goal. There are 26 minutes gone. Is there any way back whatsoever for Mayo?
No, that's game over, Jared. Just watch that again. Again, a very good save by David Clark. But again, Keith Higgins very easily rounded by Gooch. Keeps his head, sees the gap at the near post, drills it low into the net.
Let's go down to the sideline. Marty Morrissey.
Yeah, well, the news on the sideline isn't great from a Mayo perspective. They're in deep shock here, and they've had about 5 or 6 meetings. John Morrison, Mickey Moran and Kieran Gallagher, and they have so many problems that they genuinely, I don't think, really know what to do at this stage.
We're in deep shock up here as well, I think. That comes back to Billy Joe Padden. It might be Mayo's second score. It is. 10 minutes between scores. Billy Joe Padden's first. 3-6 to 1-1. This was the pick-up. That was the shot by Billy Joe. Long way to go. Long way back as well.
Yeah, just at the moment they need a few more scores like that, Jared. You know, Mayo, again, we're repeating ourselves, are lacking in direction and purpose at the moment. Kerry are so sharp, so incisive, and so clinical when it comes to finishing.
Brian Crowe, as you can see, going in to talk to his umpires. Bit of jersey holding, I suppose. Amazing the 6 Kerry forwards have scored so far in this game. It's one of those afternoons and the referee is calling back for particular attention. Tom O'Sullivan from Rathmore, and the Army man is going to speak to the Garda. Referee speaking to the left quarterback, warning him about his future conduct. The umpire has seen it. Well, on the basis of all of this, as the paperwork is carried on by Brian Crowe, you just begin to wonder, how did Mayo beat Dublin?
Well, that's the thing. None of the spirit, none of the abandon that was evident against Dublin is there. But it must be said again, Kerry aren't Dublin. Again, they're going for the 34th All-Ireland title. They're playing today with a swagger and a belief in themselves. And I suppose at the beginning of the championship, Kerry asked who they'd most like to meet in the final of the top 10 teams. They might have said Mayo because of the past record against Mayo.
Kerry have varied the game so much and varied it so profitably. MacDonald, wherever he goes, Aidan O'Mahony's there as well. Here's Kevin O'Neill. Oh, the angle kick, dangerously in that time, and Diarmuid Murphy did well. Got it out to Mark O'Shea. Oh, there was quite a swivel on that kick coming in from Kevin O'Neill. Sean O'Sullivan now. What they can do is they will at the other end of the field. Griffin into Donaghy. This is almost embarrassing. Galvin. That's wide.
Yeah, but again, go back to that little cameo there, Joe. There's no pressure being put on any Kerry player when he gets the ball. Mayo players are standing off them in every position of the field at the moment. There's just a collective malaise at the moment, and it's just, you know, they're going to be routed completely. Just watch Gooch's great save by Clark. Comes back to Gooch. Just watch his composure here. He ignores Donaghy's presence, slips it into the near post. Fine goal.
And that's Gooch scoring in what many people regard as a moderate season, which in truth it has been for him. Here he is again on the day when he really wants to produce it. Back in once again to Galvin. Players waiting inside. Moynihan fancying his chances. I think they're all fancying their chances. Seamus Moynihan, on the day he is playing his 61st championship match, scores only his 5th point ever in championship football. A career that began back in 1992 and a certain Munster final loss to Clare in the Munster final.
Yeah, you've got to admire the strength, the running power, the purpose of Kerry at the moment. Their variation in their play is just magnificent. It's not just one way of playing. They've 3 or 4 different options, and they're just destroying Mayo.
The one that's going through my mind, Martin, is that Kerry at this stage will probably have a tougher match in training. Backs against A versus B. What can Mickey Moran do? I remember here reading that he made his debut as a player for Derry against Mayo in the National League when he was just an 18-year-old. Kerry once again tormenting, destroying Mayo's ambition and hopes. Ronan McGarity. And this time the physical side of Darragh O'Shea evident, and Brian Crowe nipping in fairly quickly.
Yeah, there's another complaint I'd have about Mayo at the moment. They're not playing enough forwards in their regular positions. There's no shape to the forward line at all. There's a one-man forward line in there, young Mortimer. There's no real support for him when the ball does come in or breaks off him.
Well, 3-4 minutes to go to half-time. And that is the notebook shown to Darragh O'Shea. Mark O'Shea is down injured. Straight away, team doctor Dave Genney in to attend to him. Sarah Hobbs is the physio. This is a free kick on the 45-metre line to Kieran MacDonald. Ball was moved forward a little bit, I think, for arguing the toss, and that's gone over the bar. First pointed free by Kieran MacDonald. They will continue to cheer and continue to hope and believe that it's possible. With another 35 minutes to come after this, but it has been agony for the fans, absolute agony going through all of this. After 2004, even last year they were made improvements in the quarter-final. There were only 3 between them at the end, although that wasn't, I think, a fair reflection of the trend of the game. Kerry were much the better team, but at least there was an indication there that Mayo were making progress. Beautifully held by Frank Russell against Dermot Geraghty. Then looking for options. Nothing terribly flamboyant. Paul Galvin lobbed in. You've got that access inside, and when you have that opportunity to play it to Donaghy, they let fly. Sullivan playing it back here, and there it was Aidan O'Mahony fancying his chances of getting another one.
In fairness, Kieran MacDonald came back that time, exerted the pressure on the kicker of the ball, and maybe forced the wide.
5 wides for Kerry in the first half. They've had the lion's share of the play. Whatever about our panel discussion at half-time, I tell you, I'd like to have a camera and a microphone in the Mayo dressing room. That's where the fun and games should be. Here's Keith Higgins. MacDonald. That's a push, surely. Oh, seems so from here. There's an advantage anyway, and there's another goal chance, and it's rolled in. Pat Hart gives Mayo another little bit of hope. His first ever goal in championship football. It comes in the 34th minute. It might have been Kevin O'Neill's. There was a definite push in the build-up, but the referee allowed it continue, and O'Neill fed Hart, who finished splendidly. 3-7 to 2-2. For the record, there are 8 points between them in points. It's 16 to 8.
Yeah, again, credit Kevin O'Neill once again on that. His calmness when he received the ball from Hart that time. He didn't try the impossible. Fed Hart, easy goal.
2 minutes of stoppage time will be added on. And Billy Joe Padden, have Mayo left it too late? They will think not. MacDonald, if he can kick another one. Will it curl off the post? Here's another goal! What an amazing match! Kevin O'Neill in the 35th minute. The lead is down to 5 points. What an amazing All-Ireland football final. It's 3-7, 3-2, absolutely crazy. Somehow the ball came down off the post from MacDonald's shot, and credit Kevin O'Neill, the ace predator, on hand. 5 points the margin when Kerry should be out of sight.
Wonderful Kevin O'Neill, absolutely wonderful again. Right place, right time. Credit Mayo's Heart, never say die attitude. Should be out the gate at this stage, but there's making a fight of it. Great stuff.
A 6-goal All-Ireland final and we haven't even reached half-time. Crazy stuff. Galvin, Declan O'Sullivan trying to bring a little bit of order, restore their sense of superiority, and Declan O'Sullivan kicks it over to match the goal he got after 7 minutes. So 6 points the difference, and still another minute and a half of stoppage time to be played. Lovely relaxed style, good technique by O'Sullivan. He's a great footballer.
Yeah, they have to address their half-back line though, Ger. It's far too loose. They're allowing far too much room to the Kerry attack.
I think they need to build the kind of a Berlin Wall I was talking about earlier, which has been up and gone since they last won, Sam. Wasn't looking too good a while ago. It's still not looking great, but there's a possibility, because it's only a 6-point game and Kerry are very loose in their own full back line. But Mayo have been wretched in theirs. But the half-back line of Mayo in particular, probably the big problem area. That's Pater Gardner, part of the half-back line up there as an attacking force. This is Mark O'Shea, bundled over, and the referee and linesman give the line ball to Mayo. It's taken quickly, 2 against 1 here. Billy Joe Padden beaten in the air there by Seamus Moynihan. Away he comes, surging forward once again. He's got a support player, it's Sean O'Sullivan. Again, 2 Mayo players are after him, checking his stride. Little block on it well by David Heaney. Now 2 Mayo players. Suddenly there's renewed heart by Mayo. The game was out of their grasp, but full credit to them. They've shown character. They still have time. From a game's point of view, what a pity they gave such an alarming lead to Kerry. I think they were about 10 points up at one stage. That's the end of a bizarre first half. Kerry destroyed Mayo, but Kevin O'Neill with 2 goals in the 16th and the 35th minute has given the Mayo fans a hope that they could still lift Sam Maguire. Mike Frank Russell kicked 2, and Kerry, who should have been way ahead at half-time, find themselves in the lead by just 6 points. The half-time score at Croke Park shows Kerry the leaders. Well, that is an amazing first half. Half-time score then, Kerry 3-8, Mayo 3 goals and 2. Well, we're going to have plenty to talk about, plenty to mull over after the break.
You know, there's no defence here at all, and for 25 minutes, you know, I was trying to think, what will we say about Mayo? Because, you know, they're a very proud people, and we saw that with the support they gave their team when they were absolutely down and out there after
11 points at one stage.
12
points actually.
12 points down, and the Mayo public still got behind them, and the supporters were shouting Mayo, and the players responded, or the players gave the supporters something to shout about and rammed in 2 goals and they made a game of it.
Sure, Paulie, just in case anybody who's confused with what happened there in the last 35 minutes, let's have a look at the 2 Kerry goals, the first 2 Kerry goals in this match.
Well, I mean, it started off like a horror movie for me. You know, the car pulls up in the wooded area and they get out and they get stabbed. And there was that sort of shocked silence in the stadium, you know. Donaghy was just doing what everyone feared that he might do against David Heaney. and Kerry were very ruthlessly putting them to the sword. I mean, what can you do with the man? There it is again, thanking you. You know, it's not as if to say Mayo weren't warned about that. And, you know, yet they took no measures. David Heaney was there, one-on-one against him, and, you know, David Heaney is not a good high-fielding full-back, and he's only 6 foot, and, you know, it was always going to happen.
I was saying to you that before the match, like, this is nearly too obvious.
Yeah, but like, you know, you can do all the planning and all the talk you want. Most football matches come down to man on man. And, you know, if you have a brilliant player, it doesn't matter, he's still going to wreak havoc. And the whole Kerry forward line have wreaked havoc there. Now, things have been tightened up with Brady coming in, and David Brady coming in at full back, and Heaney going out.
And off camera as well, Colin, we can see Donaghy's limping a little bit. He's got a bit of injury.
But Brady's better built for the job. I mean, he's 6'3" and he's big and strong. I mean, Donaghy was just pushing David Heaney around the place.
When the Gooch got the goal, Kerry were actually showboating at this stage.
Well, I mean, at one stage the score went to 16-5, and it was beautifully finished in the end. I mean, he made a mess of it to start with, but you know, he's just a sort of a higher being when it comes to Gaelic football. That was a lovely finish. But the big problem is that, what Tyrone did last year, as soon as Kerry pulled Declan O'Sullivan out from the edge of the square to play out the field, Conor Gormley dropped back in and played as an extra defender in front of his fullbacks.
Well, you see what Cooper does here. He looks as if he's going to give it a cross. Everybody thought, including the goalie, and he slips it under his body.
Yeah, but I was making the point that Kerry, instead of doing that, instead of McDonald has gone out the field, let him go. Kerry only need to stop goals. You know, it doesn't matter if Mayo scored 7 or 8 points at that stage, but they've gone out with him, and it's just turned into an all-out attacking feast with little or no defending. And that's exactly that's what happened to the Dubs. The Dubs were 7 points up on Mayo, but they continued to attack, and sooner or later you've got to have a mind to guarding the net, because the only thing that would bring them back was goals.
I was saying to you before the match, Colin, that it was incredible to see Kevin O'Neill playing here, sort of the second coming of his career. If he loses this All-Ireland, he'll be scratching his head. He scored 2 goals in it already.
That's right, and set up the third one.
Set up the third one.
You know, it really bears out what John Morrison said early in the year, and people laughing at him that they were going to play like
Beautiful finish.
And try and score more than the opposition. And, you know, I didn't think that it was the right call putting him on. I thought he'd be better coming on. But he's shown supreme score getter, and also he has the head to do. Now Kerry make a right mess of this, a ball that they should have cleared. Pat Hart, very good feet for a left-footed fella, and again O'Neill, simple ball. But the ball has been run into the net here, you know, it's incredible. And O'Neill waits and Hart, who had given him the initial ball across with his right foot, finishes with his left.
And he was just right to do it, because why take a chance? If you can give a ball to a man who can kick it into the empty net, why shouldn't you do that? And this was the supreme sort of opportunist goal. Sean O'Neill scored a goal like this for Down in an All-Ireland final when everybody else stood flat-footed.
In 1968 against Kerry as well.
You know, and it's a lesson to forwards. Stay in the game, stay in the game, stay in the game, even if you think it's going over the bar. And he took it beautifully, and all of a sudden, totally against the run of play, they're sort of in it.
Let's go down pitch side right now, where Marty Morrissey is standing by with some special people that we're going to talk to.
Thank you very much, Michael. Yes, this All-Ireland final is all about goals, but the record at the very moment goes to Owen Bomber Liston in the 1978 All-Ireland final between Kerry and Dublin, when he scored 3 cracking goals. At the moment, down at this very end, Kevin O'Neill has scored 2. Is he going to equal his record? And also joining me is the great Liam McHale, who played full forward in the 97 All-Ireland final. Owen Bomber Liston. This is some game. I mean, you must remember very fondly the Hill 16 goals.
That's right, Marty. It's hard to believe it's 28 years ago now, but it's memories that you never forget, really, and it's just fabulous to savour the atmosphere out here again today.
What did you think of that first half? I mean, when you see Kevin O'Neill scoring 2 goals, your record is a bit shaky at the moment, Bomber.
Best of luck to him if he gets a third goal. Once Kerry win by a point, we don't mind what happens after that. But it's been a very funny game, you know, very open. Both sets of forwards are on top. I'd say if Kerry scored 3 or 4 more points, I'd say that should nearly do them.
I thought you were going to say 3 or 4 more goals. No. Liam McHale, Mayo, not a good start, but what character to come back and now only down by 6 points.
But Marty, it's a bizarre game, and as you said, we're only 6 points down. We were 7 down against Dublin and came back, but this Kerry team is a different team. There will be a lot better, a lot more seasoned, a lot more experienced. than a Dublin side, than this young Dublin side. So as Owen has said, if they get 4 or 5 more points, they'll probably go out and win the game. But it's given us hope. That last goal that Kevin O'Neill has got has given us hope. And if we can start well in the second half and knock off 2 or 3 points, we have a chance of maybe getting back into it.
But Liam, on our chat down here, as far as the Hill 16 end, you said there seems to be a weakness in the Kerry full back line. Can Mayo expose it, do you think, and maybe score another goal?
Well, their full back line has conceded an awful lot already, and I think, Owen, that Kerry are completely on top in the middle of the field. So and if we start winning a little bit and get a little bit more aggressive in the middle of the field and start pumping high ball in there, they're very, very unsure of them. As I said earlier, we can score more goals.
Well, we look forward to the second half. From 6'5" Liam McHale, 6'3" Owen Liston, and 5'0" Marty Morrissey is back to Michael Lester.
At least you're not in the shorts and the t-shirts. The second half of this year's All-Ireland football final is coming your way right after this break. Here at Croke Park in the All-Ireland football final, it's Kerry that lead 3-8 to 3-2. Anything could happen in this game, and probably will. Let's go back to Ger Canning and Martin Carney.
Well, the first thing that's happened, Michael, is that there's a change in the Kerry team. Tomás O'Shea has gone off, been replaced by Owen Brosnan. And it's interesting, Jack O'Connor is in charge for the 46th time big match today in League and Championship, and Owen Brosnan has figured in every one of Jack O'Shea's games while he did manager. He's the only one to have that 100% record, as it were. He started 43 and now he's come on as sub for the 3rd time. 6 points the difference. It was 12 at its worst. So now, in this amazing game, what's going to happen next? Owen Brosnan straight into the fray. What a run by Brosnan. Potter tracking him off the post. Comes down to Keith Higgins, however. Opportunity then for Mayo to construct something, but a little pressure being exerted as Higgins brings it out. And it's going to be interesting to see to what extent the two back lines come to terms with the threat posed by the forwards, in particular the Mayo backs. Billy Joe Padden enterprisingly across here to Kevin O'Neill, who's had 5 shots at the target and scored 2 goals. Mike McCarthy. Once again they work it to Dara O'Shea. Tommy Griffin has gone back into the back line. He's gone to left half back where he's picking up Billy Joe Padden. Meanwhile, it's David Brady, the first half sub from Mayo, their only sub so far. That's touched there by David Heaney. Heaney up with the attack. Conor Mortimer, one of those who didn't score so far. Kevin O'Neill, whom we've mentioned. That's a great take by Seamus Moynihan ahead of his goalkeeper Diarmuid Murphy, and under sustained pressure. Great piece of defending. He took on responsibility.
Great responsibility, great authority that time by Moynihan. And incidentally, just one interesting switch there. Tommy Griffin has got in wing back actually instead of Tomás O'Shea.
Brosnan worked out here to Tommy Griffin. Dara O'Shea now has Owen Brosnan at midfield alongside him. That's Mark O'Shea. Declan O'Sullivan, a goal and a point from the first half. He's got a support player outside and inside. It was the one place he didn't want to hit it to, and he gives it to Keith Higgins. Bad judgment that time. Billy Joe Padden, one of those to get more and more into the game, has to. Paul Galvin. Colm Cooper, the gooch, holding on to it. Aidan O'Mahony lazily ahead. David Heaney reading it. They're 6 points down in this kind of a game where there are so many goals. You never know. It's possible.
Yeah, they're beginning to get a toe hold all right, but again they need a lot more movement up front. Conor Mortimer is finding it difficult to get away from his man.
Looking to get his first score, like Alan Dillon, like Ger Brady. Angling it in, Diarmuid Murphy drops it down, but again there's a support player, Mike McCarthy. Mark O'Shea. This is normally the time in the game when Kerry really put on the extra gear and become even more dominant, more assertive. The opening 10-15 minutes of the second half. Sean O'Sullivan, beautiful ball down along the line. Mike Frank Russell making a good run. Donaghy here in support. The other member of the full forward line coming in here, Colm Cooper. The angled shot brilliantly dispatched over the bar, and that's a goal and a point now for Colm Cooper. The point matching the goal he got after 26 minutes. And now it's 3-9 to 3-2.
Yeah, for a player who started off very poorly in the championship, he's really found his form in that game, and that's a beautiful score, running away from the goals, curling it in with his right foot, playing very confidently today.
Short kick out this time, going straight to Ger Brady. Can be a very pacey player. Well, there's a lot of pulling, a lot of dragging, the ball runs on, and in the end it is knocked away by Mike McCarthy, out for a 45, but there was a bit of a jersey pull, I think, as well, in the build-up to all of that. Interesting to see just what the referee is going to do.
Yeah, he's gone down actually to the... I think there's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I think Mortimer's pulling out of Tom O'Sullivan as much as the other way around, and I think he's just going into his umpire to get clarification on it, but I think he's still let the 45 run.
So the 45 will be taken by Kieran MacDonald, about whom there was, as we mentioned at the beginning of the match, a doubt. Was it a hamstring injury? It was couched in mystery. But looking at the way he was moving in the first half, I have to say he wasn't moving as freely or as fit-looking as he should have been for this level of competition. Biggest day of the year. MacDonald from Cross Molina. An important kick now. And he has missed it badly. Never caught it as purely as he wanted.
Yeah, he's very disappointed in that one. Didn't connect with it at all. And again, there wasn't any forwards actually in there giving him a run to give him an option, but he'll be disappointed with that.
So further meeting taking place here. Interesting that they didn't make any changes at half-time. Maybe they felt the tide was turning in Mayo's direction with that late rally in the first half. Diarmuid Murphy. Broken down once again by Dara O'Shea. Brosnan coming onto it, picking up the little pieces of scrap. David Heaney, again bundled out of it by Paul Galvin. This is what he does so well, hardly noticed on occasions. He'll pick the ball out of another player's hands, moving almost away from goal as he does it. Declan O'Sullivan, controlling it again. Leisurely stroke down into the corner here. Colm Cooper taking on Keith Higgins. Cooper going this way and that, still holding it. Keith Higgins still sticking to his task. The object of the exercise making sure they don't give a goal away, and the elbow was raised that time by Aidan Higgins, and it all builds up and gets a little bit nasty. Donaghy getting involved as well, and the referee coming in to calm down proceedings.
Yeah, both Donaghy, I think it's David Brady and Gooch are both down. Gooch very heavily tackled that time by a number of by a number of Mayo defenders. Again, deservedly got a free in. Then I think there was a little bit of afters with Kieran Donaghy, maybe through a belt, and again, a little bit of hell broke loose.
It's something now which the umpires may have had a good view of. Watch on the right-hand side, and you can see Donaghy coming in there on David Brady.
Yeah, again, Aidan Higgins got Gooch quite heavily that time.
Yeah,
again, Donaghy comes in that time, throws a punch on Brady, down Brady goes. Higgins retaliates. Again, Donaghy could be in trouble here.
It got very, very physical indeed. As you watch the pictures, we're keeping an eye on the referee just to see what he's planning to do.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Gooch got a very, very hard tackle that time, I think, from Aidan Higgins. There was a couple of them in it. I think David Brady got him also. But again, I think it was the afters with Donaghy coming in that actually caused a little bit of mayhem in there.
Well, I think it was a raised elbow by Aidan Higgins onto Colm Cooper that's set all of that in motion. And the ice pack now being applied. This is watch number 5 now. There you are. There's the raised elbow.
Yeah, certainly his head got a belt in the head that time. Whether it was a raised elbow or shoulder, it's hard to make out from that. Donaghy then came in, and again, the referee will take action, I think, when everything cools down.
Well, it was a raised elbow as far as I could see.
Yeah, and definitely there was a sandwich there, and again,
then Donaghy right in on top of David Brady.
Yeah, there was a raised elbow there, all right, and definitely got Gooch in the face.
Well, I don't know why the referee is taking so long about it, because Gooch is on the ground. He's not the guilty party by any manner of means. He was very much the injured party. David Brady, is he the man? Now he looks for somebody else, and he looks for Donaghy. Kieran Donaghy being called. And who else is going to go across? It's going to be David Brady. So the two big men. Important moment for the referee. And the person who started all of that, of course, was Aidan Higgins, and I wonder, is the referee going to take any action whatsoever against the Charlestown player for the foul on Cooper?
Oh, I think by his demeanour, he'd be giving both of them a yellow card.
David Brady had moved away, but now he's going to see the card. It's yellow. So 1-13. Kerry now with 2 yellow cards. Tom O'Sullivan got a yellow card much earlier on, and the referee's going to restart the game. 7 points between them. Higgins gets away with it. Referee going to throw it in. McGarity and Donaghy ready for duty. He's going to change his mind and move it elsewhere. Higgins is in there contesting. Falls down to Galvin. Again, nice tight control by Paul Galvin. Picking out Mike Frank Russell. From Dara O'Shea to his brother Mark. Remember, Tomos has gone off the team. Curled in right into the goalkeeper, David Clark. Chance to restart for Mayo. Haven't managed to get a score in the opening 9.5 minutes of the second half. At that stage there were 6 behind. Peter Gardner. Looks like they're going to have to go for goals again. Alan Dillon, who has been virtually anonymous in this game. Higgins, 10 back. Finally freed out as far as Billy Joe Padden. Trying to get by. Griffin came in. Before that, Brosnan had come in. The referee, I think, had put the whistle to his lips after the first challenge. Free kick awarded to Mayo.
Yeah, again, Tommy Griffin was perfectly entitled, I think, to go for that ball. Again, Peter Gardner, I think, miscontrolled the ball. Okay, it was certainly a foul, but Griffin was totally within his rights to go for it.
This is what followed on next, but it was before that Brosnan was in challenging. Free kick anyway awarded to Kieran MacDonald. 1 point so far from a free. That from the first half. This from the 45. And that has gone well away to the target. Drifts away to the right of the post.
Well, I suppose the scoring sequence has dried up in a big way, and I noticed McDonald is beginning to hold the hamstring there a little bit. Again, just one score after 10 minutes in the second half. A bit of a respite, actually, from the goal fest that we had in the first half.
A couple of Mayo players are being prepared down on the sideline. One of them is Barry Moran. Might be time for change pretty soon for Mayo. Pat Hart. Kieran MacDonald. Holding it up, waiting for the challenges to come. And they come eventually. O'Mahony in there challenging, and they win the ball back. It's turned over. Donaghy here, challenged by David Brady. Again, Owen Brosnan holding on to it, looking for a shot, getting a wonderful point. A position where Mayo had the ball. The ball was lost, turned over, and finished with some style by Owen Brosnan, the second half substitute. That from a fair old distance out, 3-10 to 3-2. Donaghy down on the ground once again. And this time the referee is having words again with David Brady. He's already yellow carded him. Didn't see anything else happen there, not a black notebook shown or anything. Well, there's the new player in, Barry Moran from Castlebar. And also coming in, Trevor Mortimer. Donaghy's okay, limping back into the action.
Yeah, what's interesting actually is they've taken off Kevin O'Neill in all of this, so I'd say it's going to be a change of tactics. Mayo are going to start putting high ball into Barry Moran, 6'5", again quite capable of playing the full forward. They'll probably try and bring Kevin O'Neill in then very late in the game.
Barry Moran's a very young player. Peter Gardner on towards Kieran MacDonald, letting fly, and it zips to the left this time, and he's had an awful time in the second half. 3 misses from 3 shots, 2 of them from frees. Still 3-10 to 3-2.
Kieran. Again, a great pass that time from Peter Gardner. Kieran's on the run, again looks up, again takes the ball off the outside of the foot. Will be very frustrated with that. Like 3 great opportunities for Mayo to have brought the game back to a 5-point game. He has missed the 3 of them.
They come again. The broken ball in the centre of the field, again won by Kerry, by Owen Brosnan. Galvin once again, picking up all of the scraps. Pass not a good one. Ger Brady was anticipating. So many mistakes in this All-Ireland final, but it's still there to be won. Back to MacDonald, checking, looking for somebody else, I think, to take the leadership and make the passes easy. It's Seamus Moynihan who was anticipating. Moynihan so quick over 5 metres still. O'Sullivan, lovely balance, good control. O'Sullivan coming, that's the other O'Sullivan, Tom O'Sullivan. And yet another one, Sean O'Sullivan. O'Shea now, down to Colm Cooper. The marking just so slack. Dara O'Shea away from Ronan McGarrity, who hasn't exerted the big influence that Mayo had hoped he might. Pat Hart, a goal scorer in the first half. Under pressure straight away here. It's Brosnan once again. Well, he shows that he really is up for it. So disappointed to have lost his place in the starting 15. Trevor Mortimer with the challenge.
Yeah, I must say he's made a fantastic contribution since he's come in. He's both foraged and scored. Again, been involved in so much that's good with Kerry at the moment, as has indeed the wing half forward Paul Galvin, who has really, hoovered up everything around the middle of the field throughout the game, Ger.
That's a yellow card for Trevor Mortimer just minutes after coming on. He's operating around the middle of the field into the half forward line. They can't get the ball back. Brosnan and company. This time Owen Brosnan giving it away rather easily to Keith Higgins. Crowd want to see some fireworks. They've worked hard to get their match tickets. They really want to see a match here. That's a shoulder there by Trevor Mortimer. It's on Mike McCarthy. Line ball given to Kerry, taken very quickly. Sean O'Sullivan picking out Tommy Griffin here, the man from Undangan. One of his coaches, former teachers, Liam Higgins, watching at home in Kerry this afternoon. Wished well by everybody. So Sean O'Sullivan just opting to leave this one. No particular hurry now at this stage. Kerry are thinking of another change. Yet another O'Sullivan, Darren O'Sullivan, about to come into the action. Seamus Moynihan, big one down. This time from David Brady to Keith Higgins. They work it to Peter Gardner. Loose player here now is Ger Brady. Inside to Peter Gardner. Oh, going the wrong way. And then two Mayo players combine to lose it between them. Trevor Mortimer and Ger Brady. Complete mix-up. And Kerry gratefully get the ball out to Galvin once again.
Sums up the day in many ways. So much confusion when they attack. Again, they brought a big man in full forward, Barry Moore. They haven't once tried to hit him with a high ball. That time players getting in their own way just mess up a potentially promising attack.
Promising indeed. It's 16 minutes of the second half and Mayo haven't scored in the half so far. Gooch is once again a bother for Keith Higgins. Getting it on to his left or right. He's dynamic. Colm Cooper has got a goal and 2 points, and the fans are absolutely deliriously happy. 3 scores from 4 shots at the target. This is Cooper. You never know when you've got him beaten. He can go right, he can go left, but he's always precise in his shooting. 3-11 now for Kerry, 3-2 for Mayo.
Yeah, quality always comes to the top, and again, Cooper has been fantastic, and then with every opportunity he's got today, his work off the ball is immense, his accuracy of either foot is always devastating. A great score for Colm Cooper and for Kerry.
Aidan Kilcoyne coming on. 4 points in the championship so far. He comes on as a replacement. Billy Joe Padden. Darren O'Sullivan is on for Sean O'Sullivan. It's a game where the normal conventions of All-Ireland football final day have just gone out the window from a very early stage, as Kerry's forward line simply blew an inept Mayo backline to pieces, and then they went to sleep themselves and allowed Mayo back into it. But in the second half, well, in spite of Mayo's best efforts now, Kerry look comfortable. Aidan Higgins, Trevor Mortimer wrestled to the ground, and who's in at the end of it? Paul Galvin.
Yeah, but credit Galvin, he's doing wonderful work for Kerry, getting back that time to act as an extra defender, and that time, okay, I think Trevor Mortimer was quite clever in drawing the foul from him.
He's like a terrier, isn't he?
Oh, a little wasp as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, just watch it, leaves the hand in, tries to get the ball off, and Trevor makes sure that he holds on to the hand and earns the free.
And the teacher from Colosh to Korea 3 in Cork is being spoken to, and there'll be a notebook shown for that for Paul Galvin. So free to Conor Mortimer. Yet another awful All-Ireland final day experience for him so far. Happened in 2004 and it's been replicated this year. This will be his first goal in the match. It's gone over. 3-11 now to 3-3 in front of 82,289 spectators. Mickey Moran's dream, well, it's not looking too strong right now.
But the only thing so far in the second half, there have only been 4 scores, admittedly 3 of them from Kerry. Mayo are making more of a contest in this half, but it's certainly a case of trying to kind of, bolt the stable door after the horse has fled.
Well, our stats expert Tim McCarthy tells me that it's the first score for Mayo in 19 minutes. Aidan Kilcoyne dragged back. Free kick awarded to his team. Aidan Higgins the taker. Ronan McGarity. Huge one in, bouncing all the way. Well, I think Colm O'Rourke called it at half-time a kind of surreal experience. It is that. There are times when you wonder, are the 82,000 people in here cheering, or what are they doing? Just settling back, relaxing, watching Kerry at their best on occasions, mesmerising Mayo. And again they torment the Connacht champions. Paul Galvin. Some Mayo people were saying to me in the build-up to this final, how come every time we get to a final it's Kerry, or it's one of the big superpowers of Gaelic football? MacDonald to space. Moynihan coming across, getting there ahead of Kilcoyne. He's like a sweeper in front of the back line. Wherever there's a hole or a gap, that's where you'll find Moynihan. One of the great backs, I think, of the last 25 years.
Superb reading of the situation again that time. Again, maybe old legs, but a wise head, great anticipation.
Mike McCarthy fancying his chances up there. Likewise, Frank Russell. Darren O'Sullivan got a goal against Armagh. Looking for a point here, almost forced over the line there. Donaghy was in on top of David Clark. But instead it's David Brady. Trevor Mortimer. Kieran MacDonald, all those names you'll have been familiar with and heard about in the All-Ireland finals in the past. Same old story for Mayo, unfortunately, from their point of view.
Yeah, again, sometimes they're bringing the ball into tackles far too much, not trying to kind of kick the ball. Their overuse of the hampas actually has caused them an awful lot of trouble today.
It's a ticking for Declan O'Sullivan. Referee wanting the Moirishka for Mayo back out of the field. Kieran MacDonald, it's a real hopeless one. The game has just gone to pot completely, if that was possible. Mark O'Shea. Now Trevor Mortimer trying to close him down. Here's Aidan O'Mahony. He's stuck to his task. His task was to limit the effectiveness of Kieran MacDonald. He has done that, and he's come up to kick what is his second point. He's marking MacDonald. He's gone up to kick 2 points. MacDonald himself has kicked only one from a free. 2 from 3 is Aidan O'Mahony's record this afternoon. 3 shots at the target. This the third. 9 points the margin.
Yeah, they have greater talent, Kerry, there's no doubt about it, but they have a greater application on the day, and their strength and endurance levels seem to be much higher than Mayo's, who for some reason again have left their best form at the semi-final. That seemed to have been their high water mark. Today it has been a massive disappointment for them.
Well, they're concerned about Colm Cooper, possible double vision, mild concussion as well. Team Dr. Dave Guinea in there as well with Sarah Hobbs, who's the physio. Jack O'Connor will be very, very pleased indeed, as well he might. Johnny Cullity, Ger O'Keefe there as well, the selectors. It's very much been their day, and that's been the case from a very, very early stage in the afternoon.
Yeah, I think that early blitzkrieg during the first half really put paid with any opportunities Mayo had. Again, just watch this time. Again, he gets hit very hard with that shoulder in that earlier incident. And again, I feel myself since then he's probably been suffering from a little bit of concussion.
I wonder what they're making of it. Mayo and Kerry fans. I wonder what a particular man called John Crosby is making it. He's from Wexford, living in Offaly. He's attending his 109th All-Ireland final this afternoon. He'll have seen better. David Clark. And again, Kerry get the decision. Darren O'Sullivan over there. And Mayo have an injured player. It's Patter Gardner. That half-back line, much maligned, difficulties been experienced from the very word go in the match. But Mayo were experiencing real problems from 3:30 this afternoon. Some people can't bear to watch. I know. How do you think we feel?
Well, it's been a very disappointing game indeed, and again, but you can't take from the quality that Kerry have. Again, you know, they started the year very poorly, both against Waterford and against Tipperary. Again, just watch Patter Gardner this time, probably maybe either cramped or tore a leg muscle, but now we've a bit of trouble up on the far side of the field, which is totally unnecessary.
Well, this is very, very unnecessary. Mayo have used 4 subs at this stage. The scrum is now moving up towards the 13-metre line.
Like, that's crazy stuff what's going on. There's no need for that whatsoever.
Frustrating from a Mayo point of view, but they have known the score. They had 3 weeks to prepare for this challenge of Kerry. Did they underestimate Kerry? Did they think that Kerry were going to go back to the kind of side that we saw up to the time they played Longford, lacking sharpness? Because they've come back strongly ever since that second half against Armagh.
Yeah, no, I don't think they couldn't have possibly underestimated the challenge. They have played Kerry last year and the year before in the championship. Both times, you know, got well beaten in 2004, ran them 3 points last year, beat them in the National League earlier this year. But just on the day, Kerry have been superb. But Mayo, for whatever reason, have looked quite lethargic throughout the field. And again, just don't have the legs, don't have the stamina, don't seem to have the firepower, don't have the application that the Kerry players are, nor the skill nor the quality.
Patter Gardner is now the latest to go off, literally, and he's been replaced by Andy Moran. It's interesting how Mickey Moran, his namesake, didn't make the early changes in the forward line, because the problems really were elsewhere, trying to get the ball, winning the ball at the back, controlling midfield, or attempting to do so. Well, the umpire has alerted, the linesman rather, has alerted Brian Croke to what happened, and he has called Paul Galvin. You saw him being ticked earlier on, so it's now going to be a card, and the colour is yellow.
You know, I didn't see what happened, Ger, but again, there seemed to be something said or something happened out there, but Paul Galvin, David Brady, a number of them are involved in it. It's quite unnecessary at this stage of the game.
I wonder if we can see from the pictures here. Galvin coming in. Yeah, there he goes to Ronan McGarity.
It may have been worse pass between Ronan McGarity and Gooch, but there was no need for the follow-up to it.
Donaghy again. This time it's won by David Brady. Challenged by Galvin. He's battling for everything. Love him or hate him, and Kerry fans absolutely love him. And this time Aidan Higgins has been called aside by the match referee. Hasn't been spoken to so far.
Probably was looking to get away with it earlier on in that first incident with Gooch, but now definitely this time I think he'll incur a red card or a yellow card.
Mike Frank Russell has been replaced by Brian Sheehan as there's a yellow card handed out there to Aidan Higgins. So that's now a total of I think it is 3 yellow cards for Mayo players. Mike Frank Russell gets a huge ovation from a very appreciative Kerry fan base in Croke Park. He's done his job, played a huge part. Brian Sheehan, who comes into this game as leading scorer, incidentally, 24 points in the championship so far, had injury difficulties. So Galvin, I think, opting to leave this one for the new man in, the free taker from St Mary's, South Kerry, Maurice Fitzgerald Club. David Clark's goal has been bombarded from time to time, in particular in the first half. Nice, easy style, beautiful delivery, and a point for Brian Sheehan from a free with his very first kick. And so the margin is now 10 points, and it's also reminiscent of 2004 all over again. The second half has had a real unreal feel about this. From an early stage, it was pretty obvious that Mayo were not going to be able to bridge the 6-point gap. Kerry mean business. Colm Cooper has Darren O'Sullivan ahead of him, slips by Aidan Higgins. A master in control. Brosnan trying to come in, and Brosnan dragged back his immediate opponent there. David Brady. Here's David Heaney. Trevor Mortimer wasn't a factor in this year's championship up to this point here. Holding it up. Well, free kick has been signalled for Mayo. They'll take anything that's going at this stage, just to try and put a bit more respectability on the final scoreline. Yeah, tough day, very tough day, and then you've got all these lovely Kerry fans behind you, unbiased, because they don't care who Kerry beat. Kilcoyne kicking, contested strongly in there, and Donaghy is back, Galvin's back, and Mark O'Shea gets it away. Little slip once again. Keith Higgins stayed up with the attack, didn't come up for Kieran MacDonald. Galvin again trying to force it away, so too a couple of other Kerry players, and in the end it is Declan O'Sullivan who's down under the weight of the challenge. Just 5.5 minutes now remaining in this All-Ireland football final of 2006. One Kerry will remember for a long time, one Mayo will want to forget.
Yeah, again, you asked me earlier, Ger, how Mayo went and managed to beat Dublin in the semi-final. I suppose it was because four of the forwards played very well that day. Ger Brady, Alan Dillon, Kieran MacDonald, Conor Mortimer and Kevin O'Neill when he came on as a sub. Alan Dillon really had a really stinker today, but also I think at the back, Mayo's deficiencies at the back weren't exposed by Dublin that day. Conceded 5 goaling chances, only Dublin took only 2. Again, Kerry have been absolutely clinical today when they got the opportunities for goals.
From a neutral's point of view, Martin, it's just as well Mayo got those goals in the first half, you know. Second half chances converted, 5 out of 8, 1 out of 6. Mayo with only 1 point in the second half so far. Trevor Mortimer. Ger Brady now, kicking under pressure. That's the kind of pressure that Kerry have been exerting, but that time he was pushing. And Ger Brady fouled, free kick on the 13-metre line. Couldn't be on the spot where it landed, which was close to the end line, so out on the 13-metre line. And some of the Mayo fans have long journeys to go to places like Crossmolina and Ballintubber and all the other places west of the Shannon. Not their day. This to put 9 between them. Conor Mortimer has got a second pointed free. .313 to 3-4. Well, interesting, of Mayo's 4 points of that tally you see up on the top left-hand corner, only 1 is from play. That was by Billy Joe Padden in the first half. Tommy Griffin is replaced by Eamon Fitzmaurice. Big cheer for Eamon, getting a chance to come in for his 47th championship appearance for the Kingdom. Somebody asked me last night, why are Kerry so good at Gaelic football? It's an absolute religion there.
Well, it's a religion, Ger, but to be fair to them, they're practicers. They're active practitioners of the religion. Again, it's religion in Mayo also, but unfortunately the effort certainly wasn't up to what Kerry had today.
Well, Kerry seemed to have the greater number of believers as O'Sullivan chips it brilliantly over the bar. Smashing score. Goal and 2 for Declan O'Sullivan, the captain. All the questions that were being asked about bringing him back into the team. 3 from 3 is his tally, justifying his recall into the side, and he's playing a captain's part. But in fairness, it's been easy this afternoon because Mayo have been awful.
Yeah, but one of the things that I admire about Kerry is that even though they're well ahead, they keep kind of turning the screw. They keep their effort going. They're continuing to attack at every opportunity, and they're as tight in defence as they were at the beginning of the game.
Some more paperwork. Fitzmaurice. 2 yellow cards then dished out. It's Aidan Kilcoyne, and again the other substitute there, also getting himself a little yellow. Well, the next big match for Kerry after all of this will be the Gold Challenge on Wednesday in Tralee at 8 o'clock. South Kerry, the county champions, will be playing the All-Ireland champions, and you know who that is going to be at this stage. The proceeds will go to alleviate the suffering among the poor and the vulnerable in Darfur, a very worthy charity. Tom O'Sullivan, Mark O'Shea, 10 points the difference. Brian Sheehan there just slipping. You see that Conor Mortimer chased back after him. Colm Cooper, followed by taking on Dermot Geraghty, and then ran into the challenge of Keith Higgins. Well, Keith Higgins will hopefully have learned an awful lot by this experience and by his first year of senior competitive action. He's one of the promising players of the future, but it's hard to know where Mayo go from here. They qualified for the final. They had a marvellous victory against Dublin, but it's all fallen flat in the final, and sadly they're going to be remembered at the end for this performance here. Kilcoyne. Lovely intervention again. Brosnan. The 15 who started, the 5 who've come on, playing wonderful football, and that is Donaghy, and that is sublime. He punches the air. The fans do likewise. A goal and 2 for Kieran Donaghy. 3 shots, 3 scores. What about this? Nobody near him. Heaney late getting there. Anyway, Donaghy is a very skilled practitioner. Off the post and over.
Yeah, again, they're authors of their own misfortune. Again, Mayo running into traffic with the ball. Short hand pass being intercepted again. Simple ball out to Donaghy. Looks up, shoots in off the post. Great score. And again, you know, to be fair to Donaghy, it's appropriate that he franks a fine performance, which could be the last score of the game.
Brendan Guiney comes in. He also came in as a sub in the 2004 final, and that is now the 5th sub. And Aidan O'Mahony comes off, coming in to share in the glory that is the day for the Kingdom. They had 34 titles coming into this. Sam Maguire is heading back for Killarney and Tralee. At least 4 minutes of extra agony from a Mayo point of view. Galvin again goes forward. A little bit of misunderstanding back there, but in the end it's taken up. Andy Moran with David Heaney. Moran again, funneled out as far as Keith Higgins. David Brady held up by Darren O'Sullivan. An 11-point victory so far. Moynihan back. So as Kerry win it back once again, about to win their 34th All-Ireland title. The Kingdom very much the kings of Gaelic football, and now it really is turning on the style time once more. Toying with Mayo, Dermot Geraghty to his credit, battling manfully with Brosnan, who's in on goal, and the goalkeeper stops initially but not the second time, and Owen Brosnan has just kicked his 13th goal in championship football in the 72nd minute. Big smile on the face of the Killarney solicitor, and this is an absolute destruction job on the part of Kerry over hapless Mayo, and it's 4-15 to 3-4.
Once upon a time they had the Valentine's Day massacre, but this is an absolute massacre today. And again, a fine goal taken by Brosnan, but Mayo simply just have given up.
Ger Brady, we're only halfway through the 4 minutes of added time. Aidan Kilcoyne, another from the under-21 side, dragged down free on the 30-metre line. Seamus Moynihan has been inclined to do that this season, making sure there won't be any shot at goal, so he's prepared to get cards and little ticks. And he's already had a ticking, so it's a yellow card for Moynihan. Another one for the post-match statistics. Conor Mortimer thought about a quick one there. At half-time in the 2004 final, I remember Liam McHale, one of the selectors, talking in terms of damage limitation. It's been that way for a long time in this game, very sadly.
Yeah, and again, regrettably, they've only had 2 scores in the second half. Early on, when they had a couple of opportunities, you know, to draw level, they failed those, and again, the half has been a disaster for them.
Mickey Moran, first year in charge, looking ahead to his second year as coach of Mayo. Jack O'Connor, his 46th match, big match in charge. 21st time in charge here at Croke Park, incidentally, today. All of the statistics. 1 minute to go now as he puffs out some air and just waits for that final whistle. So still about 30 seconds to go, and still it is Kerry, and still they go forward. Galvin waiting for it. The referee, I think, will blow the whistle in the agony for the Connacht champions, because the Kingdom, Kerry, are All-Ireland football champions 2006. They have destroyed Mayo. An outstanding performance by Jack O'Connor's team. They came in as favourites. They were prepared to take that responsibility on their shoulders. They opened up huge gaps at the back from an early stage, and Kieran MacDonald once again plays in a final and loses to Kerry. It's tough for him. Kieran Donaghy were superb. His team's superb this afternoon. Mayo only 3 points in the second half, all from frees. Jack O'Connor, a delighted manager, is down with Marty Morrissey.
Yes, indeed, just being hugged here by his chairman, Sean Walsh. Jack O'Connor, a very emphatic, very impressive victory.
A great day, Marty. The day you dream about. We started off like a house on fire. We left Mayo back into it, but we felt at half-time might have been a good thing Mayo got a few scores for half-time, because they kept us on our toes for the second half. I can't speak highly enough about this bunch of guys. You know, they've given us everything for 3 years. It's been a great period in my life and in the life of the whole group involved in this. So just thrilled.
The foundation for this victory was undoubtedly the first 15 minutes. I mean, it was awesome football.
Yeah, well, we wanted to put them on the back foot because they're a great team going forward, and we were very determined. Our fellas were really focused going into this game. They were relaxed yet focused. A dream there, Matthew, what can I say?
And one last question, because in fairness, I know you got a bit of stick about Declan O'Sullivan, but he was really, really good. He obviously deserved his place. And Owen Brosnan did well as well.
Watched him a bit longer than here, Matthew.
Thank you, Jack. Well done.
In that second half, one of the stats, they have won this game by 13 points. The final score, Kerry 4 goals and 15 points. Mayo 3 goals and 5.
Ger Canning, Martin Carney, thank you very much indeed, and of course commiserations to Martin Carney as a proud Mayo man. I'm sure he couldn't have enjoyed that, but Kerry and their supporters certainly will enjoy it, there's no doubt about that. It's unlucky 13 for Mayo in terms of the final score, and the crowd of course coming onto the pitch. You can tell them what you like, but they want to come on the pitch, they want to celebrate their team of course and watch the presentation of the Sam Maguire. Joe Brolly and Colin O'Rourke with me here in studio. We'll talk about what happened to Mayo, or what we think might have happened to Mayo in a moment, Colin. But first of all, every congratulations to Mayo, to Kerry, because you know earlier in the year they looked terrible in the Munster Championship, and here they are, the All-Ireland champions.
Yeah, but they always had the best players. It was just a matter of getting the organisation right and getting the hunger back into them. They definitely played like a team in the Munster Championship who were merely going through the motions, and it appeared as if they needed a shock to the system. They got it with Cork, and then you know the pride took over. They said that they weren't going to get shown up again, and they haven't. They've come back here. They played like a class team that they are. You know, they have the best players, and we said before the game, the cream always rises to the top. And Kerry this is a class Kerry team, you know, okay, they've been beaten by Tyrone and Armagh, but they keep coming back, The constant in All-Ireland finals over the last 100 years has been Kerry. And no matter what team comes and beats them with a particular style of football, Kerry can always come back because they have the best players.
Okay, Colin, let's go to the presentation then of the Sam Maguire for 2006.
It's a familiar picture for the third time this decade. Kerry are champions, the Gooch and Declan O'Sullivan lifting Sam Maguire. It's going to Kerry in 2006.
As I said, these same bunch of players have put in a fantastic effort over the last number of
fantastic. To the management team, they put in 3 years of fantastic work, thankless work, to largely with today's worry, but it's all worthwhile. To Pat Flanagan and Trainer. Pat Flanagan and Trainer, our selected John Keith and Johnny Colton, and the one man who put his life and soul into Kerry football the last 3 years, Jack O'Connor. As I said before, it's very fitting that Collins to stand here next to Sam Maguire today. The character and strength he's shown this year, we lost his father Mike, has been inspiration to all of us. Mike has been a great supporter of this Kerry team in good times and bad, and I'm sure he'll put out today a very proud man. May he rest in peace. And finally to give out, there'll be fantastic all in the championship, and again today just things isn't going away. 3 cheers, okay?
It's a terrific moment, and they're all going to share it. The Drummond Pearce's duo there, Jack O'Connor and his team captain, and all of the fans. What a day, what a night, what a week, what a winter they're going to have in Kerry. Well, they might. And here's the big man himself, Kieran Donaghy. Down along the line it will go. Sean O'Sullivan, who was in Australia last year, Aidan O'Mahony, and all of the others will take their turn. Brian Sheehan, who came on as a substitute, Mark O'Shea and his brother Dara immediately after him there. It's just one of those days. Happens so often. Brosnan, the goal king, young and old alike. What a scene. Stay off the grass, you must be joking. Kerry are in town and they know how to celebrate. Tomas O'Shea, who went off presumably with an injury. Declan O'Sullivan, who has not Declan, rather Darren O'Sullivan, they're exchanging his jersey. Mossy Lyons, one of the substitutes. And there's Galvin, Paul Galvin, listen to the war now. He knows how to milk it. Tell you, if they ever go to the pantomime season at Croke Park, he'll be the baddie. He'll bring in all the people to cheer him and to boo him in equal measure. That kind of character. And people from Kerry have enjoyed the afternoon, and they will always remember this. But this afternoon, they absolutely destroyed Mayo. No other way of putting it.
Yeah, indeed, Gerard, but it must be said too, that's about the best, from what I can see anyway. It'll rank with one of the best Kerry teams ever to come out of the kingdom. It's their 4th All-Ireland actually in the last 10 years. The likes of Darren O'Shea and Seamus Moynihan are as good a players ever to grace the green and gold. They were superb today.
That's saying something, Martin. There he is, Moynihan and Mike Frank Russell. He regained his confidence during the season. It was great to see. Now, I'm not sure if this guy's going to remember it, or is it a little girl? I think it's a little girl. Yeah. What you think then?
Yeah, and the thing about it, Gerard, is this, like, that gives them respectability, amazingly enough, among their own tribe in Kerry. Again, they've just won 4. Again, I noticed Paul Caffrey down
right
there
in the centre, next to the lady with the baby. Could have been his day.
Certainly, it'll be a question of what might have been from his point of view, after watching what happened out there today.
Well, the planning for next year will begin immediately for people like Paul Caffrey, Billy Morgan, Mickey Hart and all of the rest. Joe Kern and all the big managers will be involved in the championship. Let's hope it's a good one. Thanks for everybody who participated in 2006. Michael.
Yeah, Joe Kenny, thank you very much indeed. A great sea of colour there. Great celebrations on Kerry. That little baby may not remember too much about these events of 2006. Probably win a couple of All-Ireland medals for Kerry in years to come. Joe Bradley, Colin Rourke said a moment ago there in the chat, he said it was just a matter, when I said, Kerry had turned their season, he said it was just a matter of getting a few things right and all that. Kerry can do that. Other counties maybe can't.
Well, they won the National League, don't forget, very ruthlessly. They destroyed Leeds in the semi-final and destroyed Galway. They stamped on their bones in the league final, and then they just got bored, I think, during the championship. But I think what today emphasises in the broader picture is that it's still about Kerry, Tyrone and Armagh. Mayo, frankly, just looked like total amateurs today. They had no defensive system. The idea of coming out and trying to play Kerry, in an attacking contest. Let them attack, but we'll score more. I mean, it's just Russian roulette, and it was silly. So we had no discernible game plan. I mean, they wanted to hold on to Kerry in the first 15 minutes. The game was over after 12 minutes. And the truth is that there is a very large gulf. I mean, the difference between Armagh and Kerry this year in Croke Park and what we saw out there today couldn't be more stark. And the truth is that it was a very poor, it's a very poor Mayo team is the truth of it. I mean, they struggled through, they got here, but there is a big gap to the top class contenders. And in terms of game plan, I mean, there wasn't any discernible game plan. Well, I know the Kingdom played well, but in a Gaelic football match, you shouldn't be winning it.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
15 points or 14 points.
That's not fair that Mayo are a very poor team, because the last day against Dublin you were saying that Mayo were a good team because they came from 7 points.
They're as good as Dublin. But that's a different point. I'm saying that there's a gulf between those teams and the top tier.
Yeah, Dublin aren't nearly as good as Kerry either.
No.
But you know, Mayo were the best of the rest. There is a gulf, but like, you know, on occasions like this with amateur players, I think we shouldn't add to the misery of a losing team, because frankly they were humiliated. You know, 1 point from playing the whole game. Those fellas would like to go away and dig a hole for themselves, and you know, we shouldn't add to that type of misery that they're facing.
I suppose at a quarter through or half through today, when we were talking about this match, nobody was saying to me that Mayo are going to lose by 13 points.
Well, I didn't think they would lose by 13 points necessarily, but did say, look, you know, coming into the game against Kerry with the idea being that we'll outscore Kerry is a very, very risky strategy. You know, and like, you know, if you've got any sort of defensive system at all, you'll dig in and you'll hold, and you'll dig in and you'll hold, and even though Kerry are a better team than you, you know, you'll hold on to them and hold on to them and make things interesting. I mean, that wasn't a game at all. I mean, it was like a practice match for Kerry. I mean, you're expected to play well in all out of final. You're supposed to come out and fire on all cylinders. I mean, the truth is,
talking about that we have seen 5 or 6 of the best players of the last 10 or maybe 20 years playing together here. Darrow O'Shea, Seamus Moynihan, De Gooch, and it's undoubted, you know, Galvin too for me was the best player, but Donaghy has lit up the year. He's the player of the year, and he wasn't the best player today. Galvin, in my estimation, was, but like as a player of the championship, Donaghy has stood out, and his whole demeanour has been positive, and I think it's brought out the best in the Kerry supporters. I think he has sort of livened up Kerry young people again, give them a focal point for their support, and he's been a very positive influence for the game in general.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, even Joe, you know, you look when Brosnan comes on, he scored what a goal, was it 2 points?
Goal and 2 points?
Yeah, as a sub. Yeah.
You know, but at that stage, of course, at that stage the game was over. I mean, the reality is the game was over after 10 minutes. I mean, we were all saying at half-time, well, it's 6 points, but unless there's some sort of a miracle out there, because Kerry were totally dominant in every area, they totally dominated the middle of the pitch. Now, I know that there's obviously the mental factor, and the players have got to come in the right frame of mind individually, but you know, that was just a total collapse. I mean, that was far worse than 2004.
I'm afraid it was,
and, you know, I mean, there's no point in damning them with faint praise and saying, oh, well, you know, there's always another year. Like, sure, I mean, anybody could say that.
I know. OK, look, more on the 2006 All-Ireland football final. That's coming up right after this commercial break.
Inside for Kieran Donaghy. What a beginning for him. What a shot. This could be a rout. The Kingdom, Kerry, are All-Ireland football champions 2006. They have destroyed Mayo. Kerry are champions. The Gooch and Declan O'Sullivan lifting Sam Maguire. It's going to Kerry in 2006.
You're very welcome to the Sunday game on the night of the All-Ireland football final. And it's an evening that will extend into a long night of celebration for the footballers of Kerry, winners today of the Sam Maguire Cup in a remarkable contest at Croke Park. We'll be sampling those celebrations shortly as we go live to the Kerry team in the Berkeley Court Hotel. Before that, let's get a first reaction to this afternoon's events from our studio experts, Tony Davis, Kevin McStay and Darragh O'Connell. Gentlemen, you're very welcome. We have a bit of balance, one Mayo man, one Kerry man and a Cork man to give us the neutral. But I suppose, Tony, as a neighbour, you're celebrating and enjoying Kerry's triumph tonight.
Good win by Kerry, I'll say that much for them. Terrific win. They're just better footballers, Pat.
Hammering.
They're better footballers. They were a different class today to Mayo. And when you look at the Mayo team, they have a few fellas that they were relying on to play well today. They didn't. Kerry won the 15 individual battles on the field, and the subs that came in, they won it. And like when you have Kieran Donaghy at full forward and able to just let the ball into him, finished it very well. Their backs, their middle eight were fantastic. They worked hard. They've learned their lesson from the northern teams, and their work ethic and their strength and pace, they have everything.
A massacre.
It was. It would have been very hard for Mayo supporters sitting there. I felt sorry for them today. At one stage during the game, they were shouting Mayo, Mayo. But sure, it made no difference. The game was over after 8 minutes.
Dara, at half-time, Colm O'Rourke described the first half as being surreal. Liam McHale described this as being bizarre. How would you describe?
It was both, I would say. Yeah, it was definitely surreal and bizarre. You know, I suppose in a way it was a very, very one-sided game. You know, it's very hard to know how Mayo got over Dublin on this occasion to get to the final. They were a different team out there today. This win, I suppose, for Kerry is not what the Romantics would want. It's not what the Neutrals would want. It's not what 31 counties would possibly want. It will go down very well in Kerry. The style which they won today will go down very, very well. They played traditional football, and I think Kerry people will like that. But it was a victory for stamina, for power, and for, you know, for a team that wanted to get back to the top.
Kevin, the famine continues. Commiserations. 55 years. A bad day at the office?
Yeah, beaten comprehensively. I heard Ger Canning say destroyed there. I kind of agree with that. Didn't happen.
Did you see it coming?
No. I don't think anybody could look back now and say they saw this coming. They couldn't. We knew we were under pressure for sure, but we're very hopeful that we'd get a good start. But there was a serious sense for me of a deja vu, 2004 platform all over again, and that's in 20 minutes, the opening 20 minutes, same as 2004, blitzed and blown away.
No excuses. Well, we'll get into more serious analysis later on this. Now then, if the men from Kerry thought it was tough winning the All-Ireland, they might find the next few weeks of celebration a fair old challenge as well. The party gets going tonight, and our master of ceremonies at their hotel is Michael Lester.
Thank you very much indeed, Pat. Well, as you can well imagine, there's great excitement here at the Barclay Court Hotel as the Kerry fans and the well-wishers join with the winning team and their families on this special night. Now, over the course of the programme, we'll be here with the All-Ireland champions to join them in their celebrations and to talk to some of those who played a central role in this afternoon's victory. Now, also later on as well, we will be naming our man of the match from today's football final. But right now, though, we're going to ask you to give a big welcome onto our presentation area to the winning captain, Declan O'Sullivan, and the winning team manager, Jack O'Shea. Jack O'Connor, ladies and gentlemen. Jack, funnily, in almost calling you Jack O'Shea, I heard Jack O'Shea on the radio after the match today making the point that, you know, he played in a great Kerry team, but a lot of people coming out of Croke Park, Jack O'Shea said this, people here that I was talking to tonight said this Kerry team and this performance today was as good as they'd ever seen from Kerry.
First of all, Michael, I wish I was as good a footballer as Jack O'Shea, so that's a compliment. Yeah, awesome performance, Michael. You know, it's the kind of a performance you dream about. You know, you're hoping in your heart of hearts that the team will perform. We felt it was in us. Our build-up was fantastic. You know, we had a team meeting last night, kick around yesterday evening up in Westmanstown. Lads felt really relaxed, very focused. We felt it was in us, but then at the end of the day, there's always a doubt at the back of your mind that you can't, you know, that the crowd or whatever will affect the performance. But just a dream come true the way the lads performed today.
But Jack, after all you have done with this Kerry team, both as a selector and as manager now the last couple of years, when you came up onto the presentation podium, the first thing everybody started shouting was, "Make-up, give them make-up, quick." obviously worried about your appearance.
A lot of wrinkles, Michael, a lot of wrinkles. It's a tough spot to trade a team down in Kerry, Michael. But no, overall it's been a great couple of years. You know, we've had good times and bad. Fantastic year in 2004, hurting badly in this same building last year after being beaten by Tyrone. You know, our hearts were broken. I think it was that hurt that drove us on, Michael. You know, people said that Mayo would be very hungry after 55 years. We were really hungry after last year because we were hurt badly. You know, we came into the final playing really well. It didn't happen for us on the day, beaten by a great Tyrone team. You know, we felt like packing it at the time, but you know, we said we just give it one more go, and delighted to do so.
Well, it certainly worked out for you. You must be proud of the team, and of course the man sitting beside you here at the moment, who you know from club as well as county as well. Declan, a proud thing obviously to hold up with the gooch to Sam Maguire today.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic moment for myself and for Colm, you know, and you know, I think, you know, it was a fantastic team performance, which is the way you want to win them as well, you know, and great day for Kerry football.
Yeah, and obviously as captain you've seen both sides of this.
Absolutely, as Jack said there, you know, we hurt badly after last year, you know, and certainly I suppose after losing one, this one is all the sweeter, you know, you treasure a lot more, I suppose, really.
You do, and I mean the thing is, there was a lot made going into the game, rightly so, about the fact, you know, that this would mean so much to the people of Mayo. It means a lot to the people of Kerry as well.
Without a doubt, I suppose that these bunch of players have been around for a while now. We put a lot of work, a lot of effort into it, you know, and certainly, you know, the way football is nowadays, you know, you need to be winning it, you know, to make it worth your while, and we put a lot into the last number of years, and certainly we feel this victory is well deserved.
Well, to both of you, heartiest congratulations again, ladies and gentlemen. Declan O'Sullivan and Jack O'Connor.
It's like that.
Well, of course, the fun has only started here at the Barclay Court Hotel. Lots more to come over the course of the evening. Right now, though, the guests at tonight's function, they're going to get a bite to eat. So for the moment, we're going to hand you back to the studio and to Pat Spillane.
Many thanks, Michael. Might I too add my congratulations to Jack, Declan and all the Kerry team. Well, time now for highlights of today's action at headquarters. A Kerry team trooped off the field in Páirc Uí Chaoimh.
Yeah.
Miserable, woeful against Croke. How did this team transform to become an All-Ireland winning team today? Did you see it coming?
To be honest, the first day against Leitrim, the whole thing changed, and it changed because of one thing
Longford.
really. Or Longford, yeah. It was when Kieran Donaghy went in full forward. He was a perfect foil for them. He's a big, strong guy, good hands, and it took a bit of pressure off the full forward line. Gooch and Mike Frank were there for the slip balls. You had Brosnan coming on their own, slipping balls off to him. They didn't score a goal in the Munster Championship, all right? And now, look at all the goals they've scored since.
But Tony, is it just as simple as that one man could actually change the whole team's performance? There must have been a change in attitude.
Well, I think there was a change in attitude as well. But he made a huge difference in their full forward path. But they did up their work rate. But he was the difference, Pat, being quite honest. He was the difference. If he wasn't in there in full forward, they might not have got past Longford.
Dara, Kerry's 34th All-Ireland, probably one of the easiest ones as well, I suppose, is it?
It was, and I suppose if you look at it, 3 out of the last 4 All-Irelands they've won have been against Mayo, and Mayo must be wondering, does their style not suit the Kerry style of play or something like that? But, you know, I don't think the lads in the Berkeley Court or the fans gone their way home to Kerry at the moment, or those down in Kerry care what kind of a game it was. I think that it was important that they would restore Kerry to what they perceive to be its rightful place in football. And I think earlier on this summer, you know, Kerry had fought for the soul of Kerry football in those games against Armagh, and you know, they had retrieved a small bit of pride. But at the end of the year, they like to see Sam Maguire on the table, regardless of how it's won.
But you know, Jack talks about hunger there. I mean, there was no hunger in the Munster Championship.
No, and Tony, I suppose, put a lot of it down to Kieran Donaghy, but there was definitely a hardening of the mindset. You know, you had great leadership there shown by the likes of Darragh O'Shea and Seamus Moynihan, both on and off the field, and they kind of grabbed a hold of the game, particularly in the Armagh game, and they showed huge leadership. Okay, it might be a bit simplistic to say, obviously Kieran Donaghy had a huge influence on it, but right across the board, including Jack O'Connor, Seamus Moynihan, Darragh O'Shea, all the players hardened their mindset and, you know, toughened it out for the long road.
Kevin, Joe Brawley today said Mayo were like a team playing Russian roulette.
Joe would say that, wouldn't they? They did themselves no favours, there's no question about that. In that the point I made at the beginning, they seem to go out and repeat the errors of 2004. And when you start doing that, like, you're going to be damned, really. And there was no answer to them. They just never got going. In every battle that I saw on the field, I couldn't see where Mayo stood up. It was a question, I think, of the contest that we forget in the build-up to it, that it's a game of football and it's a massive day in the nation's sporting calendar. You have to contest like your life is going to depend, like your life depends on it. We didn't see that from the Mayo lads. That's what's very, very disappointing for us tonight.
Kevin, were Mayo like Dublin? I mean, were you depending on fellas who had never achieved at senior inter-county level? They'd never delivered a championship, and why should they deliver one this year?
Well, Pat, if you've never won in All-Ireland, I mean, that squares your argument. I mean, if you haven't delivered up to this, there's a first day for everybody. I mean, we have to keep coming back up and contesting the championship.
Did we read too much into that Dublin performance?
Oh, definitely. We must revise our thoughts on it now. Where it leaves Dublin, I'm not quite sure, but we read too much into it, and maybe that was a false dawn we allowed ourselves to be talked into. In that Dublin, in hindsight now, it was a very good game, but
yeah, we have no great shakes.
It looks like that.
Tony, let's get into a little bit of serious and more in-depth analysis. After 8 minutes, 2-2, game over.
Absolutely, I think the game was over, and after 8 minutes we could see what kind of attitude both teams had. Kerry on the day hit it spot on. Here we can see the ball going down the field, a simple turnover, and this is where Kerry worked hard all day. Tommy Griffin had that's Michael Frank's point, but the boys at midfield were fantastic. Tommy Griffin wins some great ball here, lays it off again, and Kerry worked hard all day, but Mayo were just standing off. Yeah. Look at the room. You should not allow a back to be able to pinpoint the passing like that. Here again, standing off your man. Great break again. Donaghy back.
That's juvenile defending, Tony.
Fantastic goal. Very bad defending, standing off. They were just like observers, kind of having an out-of-body experience. What a goal again. Very like, he got one like that against Francis Bellew. He nearly got one against Cork. Alan Kirk saved it. But again, Mayo were just standing off them.
They didn't have their homework done, surely to God. Mick O'Dwyer said today in the paper, if he was playing against Kerry, he'd pick 3 midfielders and play one of them as a sweeper in front of Donaghy.
Yeah, hindsight is a great thing, but like we saw a big difference when David Brady went in full back. He didn't have the strength at all to get the ball off Donaghy. Brady made a difference. But you think the amount of time they had from the last game to this, they'd have come up with something.
Yeah, hindsight would have nothing to do with it. I mean, it was well advertised in advance, you know. And I think everybody in their deep down in their hearts, everybody in Kerry expected a tactic to counteract Kieran Donaghy. We all know he's an exceptional fielder. I think they possibly, yet again, another full-back or another set of full-backs underestimated Kieran Donaghy's strength in the air.
You made a very interesting comment to me earlier on this evening, Dara. You said when Pat Flanagan took over as physical trainer, he said, it'll take 3 years for this team to peak. And they peaked today.
Yeah, you could see it in the legs there, the power, the conditioning. You'll see the likes of Aidan O'Mahony, Paul Galvin, the physical strength that those lads have. You know, he did say that 3 years ago, 3 seasons ago, 2 years ago, that it was a 2 or 3 year programme. And we just see it here. Just look, what was the burst here from Tommy Griffin? A burst of pace, takes the tackle and offloads without even breaking stride, you know. And it's moving so sweetly the whole time. There's support for it the whole time. Mike Frank again just shows the bounce off the legs and is able to offload. And that was a feature of the thing today, Kerry's ability to offload in the tackle. And here we have Aidan O'Mahony, a man whose he has serious stamina in his legs, and with his weaker left leg kicks a point. Paul Galvin just hands off here, uses the upper body strength again. Declan Nussov, now he slips into this tackle, right? But see, he's able to offload under pressure again, and here we go again with Paul Galvin kicking another point off his weaker left leg.
Maybe we've a lot to thank Tyrone Nama for, Dara. Have we borrowed
Well, definitely they've borrowed from that. And look, this man always had physical strength and always had, but he seems to have a new jizz in his legs again this year. You know, okay, he gets blocked down here, but just the ability to roll out of tackles and offload in the tackle. We were just remarking earlier on, Pat, that this is a team of bachelors, and I don't know, would you say, would the girls in the Berkeley court be too impressive, but they seem to have plenty of strength and plenty of energy in the legs.
For the playing field.
Easy, Dara, easy.
Right, Kevin, I don't think this is going to be difficult to find something. Where did Mayo go wrong?
Well, in the build-up to it, I was arguing, I suppose, presenting the fact that we went into this final for the first time with, I suppose, forwards that we genuinely felt could play on an All-Ireland stage. I'm talking Kieran MacDonald, Conor Mortimer, and certainly Alan Dillon. And we'd pinned a lot of hopes on them. And the key matchups were these three. And Tom O'Sullivan picked up Conor Mortimer and just absolutely swallowed him up for the day. Conor just could not get away from him. And Tom, he has a history of doing this to Conor, and he was superb. MacDonald was earmarked, obviously, by Aidan O'Mahony and the Kerry management team. Look, when he brings it into the tackle here, they actually race towards him to make a point of dispossessing him.
Critical moment.
And it's a big turnover, and just turns around. That finishes up with a Brosnan point. There's just something at the end I wanted to make a comment on, just kind of demoralised Mayo a wee bit. Like, we're a good few points down, and tapping over 14-yard free or 13-metre frees. They should be at least lashing for a goal and having a go at it with 15 minutes to go.
Kevin, no score from play in the entire second half.
That's a terrible statement about our efforts for the second half.
I don't want to be do we lack leaders on the field? They talked about some leaders.
No, we have a few, but it never happened for them. It just never happened to them. I can't put my finger on it tonight. It just never happened. It was a bad day for us.
Why can it?
No, I can't. Kerry were superb. We never got out of the blocks.
You said, in an article today, you said this was probably the best Mayo team over the last 30 years.
That's what we would have felt, Pat, genuinely, with the 3 forwards I've just mentioned. That was one of the key aspects. But they got absolutely destroyed. They got cleaned out by the Kerry markers, O'Shea, O'Sullivan and O'Mahony.
Can I just make one point there, Pat? The incident we saw there with Kieran MacDonald, it's the exact inverse to what with Dara and Tyrone a couple of years ago. You know, where they got around and there was about 5 or 6 very hungry players
They raced in to get those
raced in to get the ball. Like, that's what Kerry had to do. They have learned from
a certain analyst years ago described that as puke football, so is the boot on the other foot now, lads?
I think, Pat, what it shows is absolute hunger and determination. They didn't foul the player. They didn't foul him. They got around him, but it just shows that they've learned from their experiences.
This is a very simplistic answer, isn't it? People say, oh, we have the hunger, Mayo have the hunger, but as Jack pointed out, every team in an All-Ireland final has flipping hunger.
Hurt. It was hurt. Like 12 months ago, the Kerry team, you know, they had this kind of an evening and they were looking at Tyrone, and, you know, Tyrone seemed to have this hold over them that Kerry have over Mayo at the moment until such a time that needs something that probably they feel might need to be rectified still, but they were hurting, and they were hurting for the last 12 months. And the likes of Seamus Moynihan, who said he was going to have another go at it, like, you know, that sent out a signal to all the players.
You have to failure to win in Ireland, and you're a villain in Kerry, isn't that true?
That's a fact, and it's a very hard fact to life.
Okay, lads, we'll get into more analysis. Time to go back to the Winners' Hotel again, to Michael Lester. Michael, I hope they're looking after you well there.
Thank you very much, Pat. Yep. We are back here at the victory celebration in the Berkeley Court Hotel. The crowd in the function room have been watching, of course, with great interest that recording of this afternoon's match. We'll be seeing that again and again over the next few months, I would imagine. Also listening to the analysis there, of course, with the panel. With me right now, would you welcome, please, the inspirational Seamus Moynihan. Seamus, we congratulated you after your first All-Ireland medal, your second All-Ireland medal, your third All-Ireland medal, and this is number 4.
Yeah, it's absolutely great, Mike. I think Dara Shea and Mike Frank,
that's right,
we're in the same boat. We were lucky enough to be around that long and to get 4 All-Ireland medals, you know, but with all the ups, there's been downs as well, you know, so there's been a lot of balance over the last 10 years, but, you know, Brian Crowley mentioned it when they won the All-Ireland, it's, you know, when you win an All-Ireland, it's a fantastic feeling, and but, you know, you always have to go back to when we get a big kick in the backside as well, and but we've come from both sides, but it's fantastic tonight and great for the team.
When Kerry get a defeat like they did last year, a lad who has 3 All-Ireland medals would be entitled to say, listen, I've done my little bit here. You look nice and sprightly on the field there today yourself.
Yeah, you know, I think, you know, throughout the year we always felt that we had an opportunity to winning in All-Ireland, and you know, the panel that's there at the minute is very strong. There's a lot of guys, you know, sitting on the bench today would be on an awful lot of the senior teams anywhere else, and you know, they always kept the pressure going. You know, you look at the guys today like Owen Brasner, Eamon Fitzmaurice, Mossy Lyons, you know, fantastic players, Brian Sheehan, you can name 10 more, and you know, where we won it, and you know, is in the training, in the trial games, and there were 30 players inside there.
You had a fairly rough trial match a week ago.
Yeah, there was a few. There was a few of the North Kerry boys went back to the basics, but you know, that's no harm, and you know, it's good to see it inside, and it probably shows that you know, they're really up for it, and you know, at the end of the day, you have 30 guys inside there really fighting for the jersey, and that's where anything is won.
Well, Seamus, you've been some fantastic player for Kerry over the years. We might see more of you, never know yet. There might be a 5th All-Ireland medal. Seamus Moynihan, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now we're going to stay at the function for the next couple of minutes because right now I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go down to Marty Morrissey, who is in the heart of tonight's function, with somebody else for us to talk to. And just to tee that up for us, and a lot of the people here I'm sure who were at the match today, if you didn't see our coverage of this afternoon, let's just show you a little clip of Marty and his guest. And this was pre-All-Ireland final.
I'll do it to a brolly. Oh.
I'd like to thank my colleagues in the Sunday Game for showing that VT again. I thought I had a very good game plan to mark Star, but unfortunately the old hamstring was a bit pulled the night before, so I wasn't able for him. Ladies and gentlemen, Kieran Donaghy. Talk to me about the build-up to this All-Ireland final, because the hype after your performance in the last couple of games was very much focused on you. Were you nervous?
Well, I suppose you'd always have to be nervous going into your first All-Ireland final, you know, but there's a lot of older fellas in the team that gave me great help all year. Eamon Fitzmaurice, Shamo, Dara, you know, they helped me along the way really, and if I ever needed anything, they'd be right there next to me if I wanted to ask them anything, and they were great help, and they were brilliant today, all of them.
When you got that ball and beat David Heaney and crashed it past David Clark, what was that feeling like in an All-Ireland final?
It was good, Marty, just to kind of look up the scoreboard and to see that we were 8-0 up, obviously, and I thought there that we'll keep going, but fair dues to Mayo, they came back, and they've been doing it all year really, and we knew that there was a big fight in them in the second half, but I think maybe their goals before half-time kind of woke us up in the dressing room at half-time, and we went out afterwards and finished it out, thanks.
Well, I know that they call you a star down in Tralee and Kerry, but in the Sunday game we think you're a star, and thank you for doing the basketball piece with us. We had great crack, hadn't we?
We did, yeah.
Well, Toyota Ireland, part of their sponsorship as the GAA car, they give a Toyota Corolla to the winners of the All-Ireland Championship and indeed to the runners-up as well. Over the last 3 years, they have raised, as part of the Players' Fund, over 600,000 euros. And as part of that GAA sponsorship by Toyota, they also give a car to the All-Ireland Club winners and the National League winners as well. And here now, as part of that fundraising initiative for the Players' Fund, which is important to underline, I'm joined by Sean Walsh, the chairman of the Kerry County Board, and Dr. Tom Banney, chairman of Toyota Ireland. And Tim, nice to meet you again.